Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Miller Talk podcast. I'm your host, Austin, and today we are talking to RG, who is a returning guest. He's a patriot through and through, and we're going to start with discussing some stories he told me the other day. You can find him at RGB Patriot on X. How's it going?
Hey Austin, it's good to hear from you again. Thank you for inviting me back onto the podcast, and hello to everyone listening. As Austin already said, I am an American patriot. I staunchly support the Second Amendment and most other conservative values. However, I don't identify with MAGA or Republican or any other political party. I prefer to vote on policy basis over party line voting. So you wanted me to go over some of the experience I had with debating some anti 2A people and sort of converting them from the anti 2A side and persuading them more towards the pro 2A side, what their kind of like reasonings were for being anti 2A in the first place, and then sort of like the arguments I kind of uh, walk them through to get them to be more on the Pro 2A side and sort of like how far I was able to push the needle, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so one of the first people I ever persuaded was an acquaintance on Discord from a foreign country that didn't have a right to keep and bear arms in their country. Um, they kind of went through some of the basic arguments that you might hear on the left in the US, where they say gun ownership is kind of like a privilege. You should go through a bunch of tests, prove that you can um, operate a firearm safely, know at least some kind of laws regarding uh, how to store firearms, when it's appropriate to use them, like when it's appropriate force or that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like how to carry on your person in public or if you're even allowed to, and such and such. Um, and they thought that you needed a permit or a license to do that because they don't believe in right to keep
Yeah.
their arms. So the
Mm-hmm.
arguments I kind of gave them was that um, I asked them first and foremost if their country has the right to life or respect that right to life, because I believe, I would hope that every country, every people believe they should be alive. They have a right to life. That you don't just kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he said, yeah, they do. And then so I asked him, how do you defend that right to life, or if they just leave that up completely to the police at that point. And he said, well, because they, have um, the permit or license system to keep and bear arms, that they technically would use firearms for self-defense in some cases, uh, but most of the time they kind of frown upon it. Like they're like, that's a really, really, really last resort that they try not to. Um, and so the way that I persuaded that person was saying that because they have the right to life, that they shouldn't really disadvantage themselves in any way, and protect themselves the best way they can, which
Mm-hmm.
for the most common people would be a firearm. Um, and uh, they kind of, push back a little bit, asking about like, because of their laws about um, what is reasonable force or when it's reasonable to do that. And I was like, well, that's a really subjective thing, because what some people deem as reasonable might not be deemed reasonable to other people. So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of depends on what judge you get or whatever in a court case. Um, and um, so I was like, as long as you can reason that your life is in danger and all these kind of things, that should be sufficient. Um, at least in I would hope a reasonable country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, I never suggested that it was ever reasonable for people to put their lives in danger to what people might consider a lesser force than like a firearm,
Mm-hmm.
like like I think it's like what in the U.S. it's like 500 or some people die by being like punched or kicked to death,
Yeah.
just with like like bodily like no weapons, just hands, feet, fists, elbows,
Mm-hmm.
and all that.
Yeah.
Um, and which is about as many as people die from rifles in the U.S. too every year.
Yeah.
So I was saying that if people aren't going to regulate, uh, or if they are going to regulate, rifles or so-called assault rifles, um, but they're not going to really regulate like fists and stuff to this crazy amount where we have to license them and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why um, something that's about as deadly, where you get killed by them as often as rifles, to then say, well, I can't defend myself if somebody's using their fist trying to knock me out and kill me, and I can't use my firearm for self defense. Same thing with knives. Knives are even more deadly than fists, and like about 1,500 or 2,000 people die every year from those. So I'm like, why would you even remotely let? Why would you let anyone get remotely close to you with a knife before you start shooting at them?
Mm-hmm.
And the argument for that is like police generally have like a safety zone of about like I think it's like 21 to 23 feet,
Yeah, something
and then
like
they
that.
start considering people with melee weapons as like a very dangerous immediate threat that they can
Mm-hmm.
go and shoot them.
Yeah.
Um, but that's for usually police officers should be held to a higher standard than civilians. So
Yeah.
civilians, I would argue that it would be reasonable to then give them a larger safety zone that much further than 23 or 24 feet, they should defend themselves earlier with a firearm against somebody who has an added melee weapon like a knife or like a crowbar or something that could do some major damage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that got him to think that, okay, it should be a right, but there's still, that guy said that there still should be like training available
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere if you're going to consider it a right. He really wants the education so that people know what they're doing with the firearm and everything like that, so they don't have
Yeah.
uh, accidental deaths with firearms, which I think is a kind of like non-issue really.
Mm-hmm.
In the U.S., only about less than 500 people a year die to um, accidental shootings when they're just like completely negligent discharges. They don't know how to handle a firearm, and it accidentally
Mm-hmm.
goes off, or they're like cleaning it and don't pay attention and it happens to be loaded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's a very like non-issue if you're talking about that, because again, less only about like 500 people a year die from being beaten with fists and feet or with the so-called assault rifles. So if all of those things are about equivalent, then they're not, in my opinion, aren't super important. Um, so it's nice to have the education, but it's
Yeah.
not something that saves a whole bunch of lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it does cost a lot. And like, if you're trying to make it free to everybody, then it's going to
Yep.
cost a lot of taxpayer money
Yep.
up front before people access it. Um, the second person I persuaded was actually a friend I knew on Discord for about a year. I don't remember that conversation that as well though. They were more centrist. They still thought the right to keep and bear arms was indeed a right, but they still wanted to somehow also mandate training and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, which I was like, well, if it's a right, then you should already be able to, start exercising it and therefore kind of like train without the
Mm-hmm.
government kind of regulating it.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, if everybody pretty much has access to the internet now, so a lot of the basic safety, um, firearm safety stuff, you could look up online. The like four most basic safety firearm safety rules are, or not really rules, but like just common sense safety handling
Mm-hmm.
is uh, always treat the firearm as if it's loaded, unless
Yep.
you prove otherwise by checking the mag and the barrel and everything.
Yeah. Even then,
Um,
I still think, even after you've
it's
checked it
it's
and
loaded,
everything,
right?
you should still treat it as it's loaded. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
And then the second one being always point it in I don't like the wording that they say always point in a safe direction. I
Mm-hmm.
change it to uh, only point it in a direction where you're okay with destroying the thing,
Yeah.
or like thing or person, because it's just like, oh, if I shoot the concrete on the floor, like it's not like totally
Mm-hmm.
safe. Like maybe it could
Yeah.
ricochet or something, but at least destroying the concrete, like I'm fine with. Or if I go shoot a tree or whatever, right? Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
that bad. If I accidentally point at someone's pet and kill their pet or a person, right? That's bad.
Yeah.
But if I'm pointing at a person that's an attacker and I'm intentionally wanting to destroy that, then that's also an okay place to point the firearm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the third one is, don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to fire at the target. And
Mm-hmm.
then the fourth one being, know what your target is, positive ID your target, and then know what is beyond it and kind of in the general vicinity around it, because bullets can
Yep.
either be off target or just penetrate through too much.
Yep.
So pretty much anyone can find out those basic rules. You just look like YouTube or Google or anything. Like it's information's readily available.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't need too much fancy training on how to handle a firearm. At least, not in my opinion. I think most of it's uh, fairly common sense. But as I argue with more and more people, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
find out that that's not the case.
Yep.
Uh, um, but I hope more people are at least curious, right? I feel like because we have so many firearms in the country,
Mm-hmm.
people are actually curious about how to handle them. So, like I said, the um, unintentional deaths of firearms is very, very, very low, and it's not really a super big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so that was also the same way that I kind of got that friend to kind of agree that the government shouldn't really be involved in mandating any sort of training, um, just by saying like it's more like already a right, so the government doesn't need to be involved in just self train. The third person was a female ex coworker from Cuba. I talked with this about you. Talked with you about this person on X already a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. But this person, she was very scared. Her mindset was that she was very scared about gun violence because of the media. So
Yeah.
a lot of the media kept telling her, like, "Oh, look how horrible gun violence is! It's so deadly. Like people almost never recover from it, and it devastates families and this and that, right?" So
Mm-hmm.
she was really scared of that. She saw that both in Cuba, where she came from, and also, of course, from the U.S. Mainstream media that they purport all the mass shootings. Um, I was able to convince her, uh, based on, I believe, our personal relationship uh, as coworkers, that she saw me every day on a daily basis. Eventually, first, I would just talk to her about the right and why it's so important in America. We talked a bit about politics when we had free time on work. And then eventually later, uh, I revealed that I was concealed carrying at work,
Mm-hmm.
even though technically I wasn't allowed to because I lived in a blue state.
Yeah.
Um, but I asked her if she thought I was a dangerous person that would, just go shoot up the work if I was angry or something like that. And she said because she knew me, she's like, no, you're one of the more like level-headed people, kindest people she ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped change her perspective on responsible gun ownership and people really just wanting firearms to actually do something good, like defend themselves and all the people around them, if anything were to happen, right? Because uh, me, shooting an attacker that's at my workplace wouldn't just defend myself; it's everybody else's safety is also, improved because of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so she originally thought that assault weapons should be completely banned. Um, she also thought that magazine capacity should be uh, low, like 10 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I ended up showing her videos of how quickly some people reload magazines. I showed her the statistics about, I believe it was the Virginia Tech shooting, which was one of the most deadly school shootings
Yeah.
in the US, which was somebody who just used two handguns, and most of the magazines were only 10 or 15 rounds. So it wasn't like 30 round assault rifle magazines.
Yep.
Um, and, you know, they still did a lot of damage. Because it's really not that hard to reload magazines, especially when you're like training for an event like school shootings or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
before you actually go do it. Um, and like some people would say, like, well, if it's so easy to reload, like, why would you then need, you know, 30 round magazines and stuff like that? And my response for that was just bulk carrying like
Mm-hmm.
five 10 round magazines or six 10 round magazines versus two 30 rounds with one in the gun already and then one spare one is a lot better than like just all the weight of those spare magazines on you. So that
Mm-hmm.
that was a reason in itself. It does. I do admit that it somewhat helps with like reload time and continuing firing and stuff like that, where people would say that, oh, you can argue that it'll, you know, give somebody who doesn't have any firearms or anything opportunity to try to tackle an assailant.
Yeah.
But the window is not huge. It's like maybe a second and a half or two.
Yeah.
Um, so, it, and usually the way that people are taught in mass shooting events or specifically schools is they usually tell the students to cower and hide in a dark room, try to lock the door with like a chair or something, and
Mm-hmm.
then sit in the corner far away from the door so you cannot rush up on the person on the other end of that door who has the gun. And I think that's like one of the worst things possible. It's like you should be
Yep.
like up against the wall, close to the door, so you can immediately, you know, grab the barrel of the gun when they
Mm-hmm.
try to enter the room. Um, so there's that. I think the, you know, government does a really a great disservice by trying to teach kids to defend themselves that way by, you know, basically telling them advice that would make them a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that moved her position towards no permits for firearms, and that people should not ban assault rifles anymore or standard capacity magazines. Um, and she just wanted training for everybody to be available, which I thought was at least reasonable,
Yeah.
even though it would be an expense to taxpayers. But it's still
Yeah.
you know, a valuable thing,
I mean,
and
you
I
don't have to
believe
have
would
the
help.
government put it on. You can say training
That's
needs to be
yeah.
available in. I mean, I guess if you're saying it has to be like it's a law that it has to be available, then yeah, there's going to be some government subsidies. But I mean, in the state I live in, you can hardly throw a rock without hitting a gun range. So, I mean, they're already there. So,
I mean, that's lucky for you. I was not so fortunate in my blue state that I lived in. There weren't
mm-hmm.
too many gun ranges around. I had to go into the more uh, woodsy area to
Yeah.
get one. There wasn't one in the. I grew up in the suburbs, and there wasn't really one there. You had to go to like the edge of the suburb to go find it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and actually, that wasn't even like a place that you train with firearms. That was just the gun store.
Yeah.
You actually had to go in the hills to find a gun range
Mm.
because they didn't want, you know, it, they were there. That one was an outdoor range, and they didn't want the noise in the city.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, the fourth person was, I mean, they're actually kind of like tied for third and fourth because they were coworkers at the same company I was working at. I was talking with
mm-hmm.
them all in kind of a group. But this was a male guy. He was from a Hispanic country. I don't know. I can't remember which one, but he spoke pretty fluent Spanish with a Cuban lady. Um, and both of them were pretty much waiting for green cards. The male coworker was slightly less anti-2A than the female coworker was.
Yeah.
He understood, the masculinity of defending people. So he was like, yeah, have a firearm. Um, but he still thought that uh, there should be permits for firearms rather than it being right.
Mm.
Uh, and he also believed that there should be restrictions on ammo capacities as well. I don't remember if his was as low as the female coworker, that it was supposed to be less, like 10 or less. Um, I think he might have agreed around there. Um, uh, and then his reasoning why he thought that though was came from a different perspective than the female coworker. So his wasn't based on um, the mainstream media or news telling him to be scared of like mass shootings and gun
Mm-hmm.
violence and stuff. So he was actually more a stats based person, where he's like, oh look, the U.S. has like 40 something thousand gun deaths a year. Isn't that a lot? That's crazy. Like you guys should do something about it. And he's of course comparing it to all the other countries that don't
Yeah.
have as many gun deaths. Um, but then I kind of like question him, saying like, well, shouldn't you kind of compare the one country to itself and just compare all the methods of death in that country, uh, right, to itself? And then he
Mm-hmm.
thought about it, was like, okay. And then so he's like, well, are there things that kill people more than guns in the U.S.? And then I was like, well, comparatively, or at least it's like vehicles kill about the same amount of people, like close to
Mm-hmm.
40, 50,000 people a year. Um, and I was like, we have less regulations on automobiles than we do for firearms. And a lot of people don't think that's true. They think, just because we are so this part kind of came from the media for him, that America is this land of the free, uh, like guns everywhere. People just walk into fucking Walmart and
Mm-hmm.
buy a firearm with no background check, no license, no ID, nothing. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. And I had to explain that to him, especially in a blue state. I'm like, no, that's definitely not how that works in this blue state.
Yeah.
Uh, and then he's like, what about like the gun show loopholes? And I'm like, the gun show loopholes, like just a kind of like a hoax thing that like
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really exist, because even the people who are like FFL dealers, they still have to go through the same exact background checks and regulatory statutes that they do if they're at their private business shop.
Yep.
Um, and the people that they're kind of talking about, which are these individual, just private sellers that aren't FFL dealers, that they're just maybe selling one or two firearms of their personal collection, uh, they don't have to run the background checks at the gun show or anywhere else. If they were just having like a garage sale, or just going, listing the thing on Facebook Marketplace or
Mm-hmm.
Craigslist or what have you, right? Like they don't have to go through that, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the government to go and try to regulate like 70 million individual firearm owners that
Mm-hmm.
are might sell off one of their firearms when they no longer use it.
Yep.
Um, and it's also hard for them to get the forms wherever they're at. Like if you're just trying to sell the firearm at your house to your buddy, it's like, oh, I have to, I don't know, find some form and then go mail it off to who knows, like whatever, where, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, uh,
Yeah.
and
Or
then
do it like
so
if you buy a gun online, you have to
mm,
have it shipped to a gun store, and then they charge
yeah, I
you a
think
fee
my
for
blue
doing
state was
the.
doing that.
Mhm. That's just
Yeah.
annoying.
So uh, my state, they had you. Uh, do this really annoying thing where if you're trying to privately sell the firearm to another person, both of you have to go to an FFL dealer to make the
Mm-hmm.
transaction, um, and then they go do the background check and all the stuff over there, and and then they have a waiting period. So even if you're trying to make the transaction, they're just going to hold on the firearm. Even if the person
Mm-hmm.
clears the background check, they're like, no, you still have to wait. You can't, take the firearm from here, even though you're already deemed safe. So that doesn't really make any sense to me. It's like, why are you waiting if you're already safe? Like,
Yep.
just approve it now, right? I thought that's what the background checks is for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, I kind of lost where I was with the fourth person. Um, But yeah, so they ended up being like, okay, fine, no permits or license, right? Like it's a right, I understand that. Um, and then they understood the argument that I gave to the female coworker too, that people should have standard capacity magazines because if a criminal has, a drum mag, like 50 round mag or whatever, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, why shouldn't the law abiding person have it? That, like, right? Like, why would
Yep.
you limit the law abiding person? The criminal like gets to go around doing like hurting people with way more damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I even proposed the same thing with like I pushed the needle further. I was like, hey, what about like fully automatic weapons, right? Like we got criminals over here with Glock switches and having automatic pistols. Like should people have the right to have automatic pistols or rifles? And then he kind of thought about it. I asked him to look up the gun deaths before and after legislation like the NFA of 1934. Um, and like the Gun Control Act of 1968 and the NFA of 1986. He said he was going to look them up. I shortly quit my job after that
Yeah.
to go to a different one. So he wasn't able to get back to me on any of that data and update me on his position. So I'm not sure, quite sure where he was on if he was persuaded on, people having automatic firearms or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the fifth person was a stranger on X. So this was one of the ones that I was the most kind of like proud of myself on.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this person that wanted to outright ban assault rifles. Like, yeah, you can't even have them, even if it's like a 10 round magazine or anything like that. So, and then they also uh, basically wanted to get rid of semi automatics, which I thought was insane because I was like, that's 90+% of all firearms.
Yep.
That even includes, double action revolvers that you don't have to manually cock the
Mm-hmm.
hammer first before firing it. You just keep pulling the trigger and it shoots one bullet per trigger pull. So I was just like, yeah, that's kind of insane. Um, and I pushed the needle so far that I got them to agree with nuclear weapons
Nice.
for the state government to fend themselves to ward off federal government tyranny. Um, and they didn't explain their reasoning why they like where it came from, but they explained why they were already uneasy about state governments uh, and cities and towns from having nuclear weapons. They just thought like some random terrorist was going to hijack the nuclear facility and blow up the area or launch them somewhere else. Um, but I was just like, well, some state somewhere of our federal government has the nuclear weapons, like,
Yep.
right? Like, there's not like a separate area where the federal government controls. Like, it's somewhere on our state, in our states, right?
Yeah. It's in Montana.
So we
Well,
have,
Montana has what they call, I think they call them the nuclear fields, where there's
uh,
like 200 something silos full of
oh, okay.
ICBMs.
Mhm. So, so I was saying, like, we would have, military presence guarding those facilities at every state. We already have, state militias. Every state has kind of like a state militia base. So, like, it wouldn't be too out of the question to have some state uh,
Mm-hmm.
controlled like nuclear weapon facility that is secure that wouldn't be really susceptible to these uh, worried terroristic attacks about getting control of nuclear weapons. Um, and so they thought that was that's what I got them to say, okay, state nuclear weapons are fine. I did want to try to push it to city and towns because um, I think that cities and towns are the kind of like smallest level of government that is more representative of the people that live there.
Yeah.
Usually, the like city council members or town hall members are all people that live in those cities or towns. They're not people who are from the state, like state governors or something that regularly go off to like the state, um, the country's capital, like Washington or something, to go do national politics. So if anyone were going to be launching any kind of nukes, they would most likely not launch that themselves because of personal interests and self survival that they don't want to kill themselves. Uh, but a state might try to like nuke one city that's not being compliant with their state laws or state taxes that they're trying to enforce. So they might be like, hey, we're going to get rid of you, unruly city, and we'll just keep surviving by taxing all the remaining cities and towns. That's fine. And same thing with federal government. I was like, they might want to nuke a state or state capitals that are refusing to abide by whatever uh, overreaching federal government laws or federal taxes. And so that's where I got them to agree with the state nuclear weapons because they wanted to avoid the tyrannical federal government. But for some reason, they weren't scared of state tyrannical governments. Um, there was a sixth person, but I can't really remember the conversation very well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or like even what their position was. Most of the time, it's just like uh, I think it was the pretty typical, like they're scared from the leftist media talking about the massive amounts of gun violence. Uh, I This one was not scared too much of the mass shootings
Yeah.
because they did understand that those are much more rare than the typical gun violence, which most of them are suicides and the next biggest category is like the rest of actual homicides. Um, so they were actually scared of the like 16, 17,000 gun firearm homicides. So they were actually scared of those. They didn't care too much about the few like 400 or 500 deaths by mass shootings a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was kind of like interesting because even though they knew that and they kind of have the idea that handguns are used the most for regular firearm homicides, right? And
Yeah.
that firearms are like assault rifles aren't really used all that much for firearm homicides on the regular. Um, they still had the kind of like cognitive dissonance or like the media brainwashing a little bit that they still think that, oh, we should get rid of the assault weapon type things,
Mm-hmm.
and but they were okay with everyone having well, not everyone, but law-abiding people having handguns for self-defense, even though most of the people that are committing homicides are using handguns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got them to uh, not want to ban the assault rifles as and just have them kind of like more regulated than handguns.
Yeah.
They were still not okay with them like just being not having a permit for assault weapons. They kind of wanted the assault rifles to have like a extra classification of being dangerous weapons that should have a kind of like a special license or permit for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't remember what state they're from. I imagine they're from a blue state. Um, but they were a U.S. citizen at least. I remember that part. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all the people I was able to persuade. And I have talked to pretty close to, I believe, 1,500 to 2,000
Yeah.
people over the course of about 8 to 10 years in my uh, trying to crusade for the Second Amendment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you? I'm sorry, I've been like talking so much. Do you have any stories kind of like that? Like
Not
if you've
really. I've
been
not.
able to like debate with people and
I mean, I
anyone?
had Rory on. He was from the UK, and he was already
Okay.
leaning towards like the Second Amendment and stuff, and kind of wanting a Second Amendment to be in the UK. And I
Hmm.
kind of,
Do they
it
actually
wasn't,
even have like a Bill of Rights or something like that over there?
I don't know. I asked him, but I couldn't remember. But yeah, he was already leaning that way, and I more or
Okay.
less like gave him more ways to argue he seemed like he was pretty much like there already. But then
Hmm.
there was things like, oh well, mentally ill people shouldn't have guns, and so I was like, okay,
Hmm.
well, what else shouldn't they have? Should they not be able to drive cars? Never be able to eat a steak with a knife? Like there's multiple ways to kill people than with just a gun. So if we're that concerned that they're just
Was
gonna cause mass violence, then you should probably be in jail or a mental asylum or something.
Yeah. Was he for like the wait, you said he was from the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if it was Britain or the UK. I think it's the UK. Was he for the? I don't know if you asked it. Was he for like the kind of UK policies where they were like dulling the tips of knives, like they basically banned knives that had stabby like points on them? Was he? Do you support that?
I don't know. We didn't talk about that, but I don't even know. I know the most recent thing they did was they banned like samurai swords. I think it was specifically samurai swords, and then some.
Like imported from Japan, like legit samurai swords, or like mall katanas,
I don't know. It may have just been like swords. I can't remember,
swords in
but
general.
I remember seeing that headline, and then it was not even a week later. Right, I saw a headline that they arrested a mentally handicapped man because he had a collection of these things, and so then they arrested him just for owning them, and he was
Mhm.
just a mentally handicapped person that didn't even have enough. I guess you would say like mental faculties to like work and everything. So that's that's uh that's what that happened. That's what happens when you make stupid laws. But
I don't think mentally ill people should be arrested and put in prison like normal like people. Like they should go get the help they need in like
mm-hmm,
a mental asylum or
yeah,
something.
yeah. But if they're
Like,
mentally ill and they've proven time and time again that they're just like violent and doing violent acts, like obviously there has to be the acts. I don't think we should just start arresting mentally ill people all over the place for being mentally ill. But if they are like violent and stuff like that, obviously any person that's violent should go to jail and hopefully be like rehabilitated. But our prison system's not good at that. So, um,
I this one has gotten this kind of I don't know what you call it, but like position or policy about how we treat mentally ill people has started touching home for me now because I through my marriage I have become kind of like more aware of what's going on with our uh, medical industry
yeah.
and how particularly how our healthcare providers are treated when they're dealing with these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sometimes or kind of often, these mentally ill people that are violent, um, they injure our medical
Mm-hmm.
providers.
Yep.
Um, and I don't think that's okay. No one should have to really be in a job where they're submitted to
Yeah.
intentionally have to, put themselves. in harm's way. Even the police, as the Supreme Court has ruled, don't even have a duty to, protect and even answer the call if somebody is calling. They can be like, sorry, we're too busy,
Yep.
our hands are full. They can just, deny service or protection. So I really don't think that our healthcare providers, which are also a very vital part of our society, should be, uh, expected to or put in harm's way intentionally by having these violently mentally ill people, um, in our, um, I guess, putting them up to take care of it. And it might sound insensitive to those people that I make them feel like they have less of a right to freedom
Mm-hmm.
or life. But I mean, if we apply this to, like, let's say an animal that has rabies that are, mentally unstable and very violent, um, like we put those things down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, and police too, right? Like if they're in the line of duty, they get like some mental person that's swinging an axe around or just grabbing and punching people and
Yeah.
for like seemingly no reason, right? Even if it's just like they're out of their mind or they're on drugs or what have you, the police still will possibly shoot them, right? Rather than just
Yeah.
restrain them and, you know. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't see it being out of the realm of I don't know possibilities or the uh, I guess responsibility of society to safeguard our important members of society, like our healthcare providers,
Yep.
by removing those violent individuals uh, from those institutions that our healthcare providers aren't taking care of them that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whenever I was an EMT, this paramedic told me a story about uh, picked up this mentally ill lady who had OD'd on some opioid. It could have been heroin or something. And they hit her with Narcan and then put her in the back of the ambulance and was taking her to the hospital. And then he turned his back for a second to grab something. And at that moment, she woke up. And if you know anything about like how Narcan works, it will immediately remove your high. So as soon as that Narcan hits your brain, it removes all of the opioids basically out of your brain, and you're immediately in withdrawal. So these people wake up out of being overdosed and they are mad because you're immediately in a withdrawal. So I guess she woke up and grabbed his trauma scissors that were in a pouch in his on his right leg, grabbed those and just stabbed him in the back. And
Yeah,
he had to wrestle her down and use restraints. But at the time that I was an EMT, they were really talking about having EMTs and paramedics and firefighters and all that to start wearing like stab proof vests.
yeah. Um, this is not a sponsor, but I actually have something really interesting. It's by Safe Life Defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's I forget what it's called, but it's like this. Oh, it's the Hyperline. That is a stab proof, and I think it's actually completely classified as a like level 3 vest.
Hmm.
So that thing is supposed to stop most handgun rounds um, up
Yeah.
to like I think 45 cal or
Hmm.
400
Yeah.
Magnum.
44 or
Uh,
45.
yeah, 44 Magnum. Sorry, and it's also like stab and taser, pretty much. I don't want to say proof, but it like I've seen it
Mm-hmm.
work pretty well. I haven't fortunately had anything where I had it tested on myself.
Yeah.
um, but it's like super lightweight. It's pretty comfortable to wear,
Mm-hmm.
and you could wear it just like under your like, t-shirt or something, and it's not too noticeable.
Yeah.
depending how um, big or small your figure is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I've always thought about getting like bulletproof vest or like my hiking backpack is also like my go bag.
does it have
It has a
does the
spot
bag
for
have
putting a
like a
plate
slot
in.
for a plate
Yeah.
carrier? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So I can like
Um,
flip it around and put it on the front, or if I even just wanted to keep it on the back or whatever. Um, but there is a spot to put a plate in. But I haven't bought any plates or anything. It's also kind of like at the same time, I had a friend. His dad was a Green Beret. He did a bunch of operations in South America and some other places. He didn't go into detail about all of them because some of them were kind of top secret, but um, he never wore plate carriers. He said they're just almost pointless because most of the time, if you're going to get hit with like a 7.62 round or something, it's going to hurt you still or even kill you. So he said it was pointless. So I kind of feel
even
like
if you're
in
wearing
a
like a level 4 vest, it's still gonna like the kinetic energy is gonna kill somebody.
it could, if it hits right, it could break your ribs and puncture your lung. But I kind of feel like in my personal setup of stuff that I have that's supposed to be like a go, you know, shit hits the fan type of thing and a revolution starts or something. I feel like I wouldn't, in a guerrilla warfare type situation, I feel like it may be
Hmm.
unnecessary. But at the same time, you can make an argument both ways. And if you think it's necessary, then go for it. And if I think it's not necessary, then that's just my choice. So, uh, ugh. But
Yeah, some people just rather die comfortable, I guess.
yeah, I mean,
So I have a probably interesting view, I guess, on body armor. I've never heard this from anyone else, so I kind of want to share this one.
mm-hmm,
Um, a lot of people would like to get life insurance at some point,
yeah,
especially when people get older, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, I view body armor as like active life insurance. Like
yeah,
it's not like you die and then you get a payout, right? Like
yeah,
you pay up front for the thing, and then it's supposed to save you from dying so that you can keep on working and making money and paying for your family and whatever, right?
mm, yeah,
That's one of the ways that I view body armor is like that's life insurance.
mm-hmm, yeah. I could see that. Um, I guess it also depends on your kit and everything that you're carrying. If you need to make an addition or a subtraction, it could be in that in the pros and cons or whatever, just depending on how big of a person you are, and stuff like that, how much weight you can carry, and uh, what role you may be trying to play. It's about the best word I can think. But you know, as for me, I like I always carry extra medical stuff with me, and if it were that type of situation, I would be more of a medic. So I would also already have more weight on me to carry extra medical supplies and stuff.
Yeah, I always carry around just like in shoulders or like a sling bag.
Mm-hmm.
I always have tourniquet and some like assorted bandages and
Yeah.
stuff, along with stuff that you would typically need just for civilian everyday living, like phone battery packs, uh,
Mm-hmm.
napkins, or like if you go out to eat or something and they happen
Yeah.
to run out of napkins at the restaurant or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ballpoint pen and other random stuff.
Yeah.
So, oh, and backup flashlight in case your phone,
Mm-hmm.
like flashlight, is not working or the battery runs out or something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, um, I think those things are pretty good to carry.
Mm-hmm.
Although thankfully I've never had to use the tourniquet.
Yeah.
but I did actually have to use bandages somewhat frequently, and it's not even like I have kids or anything that are accident prone,
Mm-hmm.
and they still come in handy. So I hope more people think about uh, preparedness and
Yeah.
readiness, that
Yeah.
they should have something that's useful on hand
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a
rather
big
than
thing.
relying on the environment too much.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a big thing in America as a whole is more people need to just be prepared for things. Like it should be common for you to carry a lot of those things, like a knife and a gun, obviously, and just maybe not always with you, but in your vehicle you use the most, you should probably have decent uh, medical stuff, just bandages, band-aids, obviously, tourniquet, um, pressure bandages and stuff. And I also think that like in school, everyone by the time you graduate, you should have the medical understanding of an EMT because when I went through EMT school, I was like, this stuff's pretty basic. You know, it's obviously like CPR, how to treat a sucking chest wound, and then just how to apply a tourniquet and how to identify arterial versus venous bleeding. Like that should be pretty
I think
basic
that
stuff.
really should be one. Like it might be. I wouldn't necessarily say that it would be a mandatory thing, but I
Mm-hmm.
would want it to be a mandatory like elective. Like the school has to
Yeah.
have it on their elective list,
Yeah.
because the main stuff is still important, right? Like math, English, history, like those are still like and science. Those are still the core things that people should be learning in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then and also like physical education, right?
Yep.
I actually think people should have every single year of their school. They should always have PE. That should not be like an elective that I think in high school you only take that like once or twice in the year in a
Mm-hmm.
4 year high school. Like it should be all 4 years you have physical education,
Yep.
and I think that is one of the things that has let our society down and why we have ridiculous obesity rates in the U.S. Besides the whole like FDA regulating food that's filled with additives and
Yep.
garbage in our stuff, but like definitely fitness as a mindset should be definitely more solidly included in our education system and life in
Mm-hmm.
general.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, I would really love to see mandatory electives,
Yeah.
and like rather than the stuff that like schools typically opt for, which is like music, band, theater, art. Like, don't get me wrong, those are nice things to
Mm-hmm.
have,
Yeah.
but they're very how do I say this? Very, I would say, lesser important than knowing like skills to save someone's life,
Mm-hmm.
or learning basic life skills like uh, basic economics like 101,
Yeah.
uh, how to like save, how to put money in stocks.
Yeah.
My high school had a really nice uh, elective um, class for economics, where part of it we signed up for this kind of like fake money using stocks trading program.
Mm-hmm.
So you could practice trading stocks without,
Huh.
risk of actually losing
Yeah.
any money. So you could see stock patterns and whatever, and also test your fear of how long you would hold money for or sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it didn't go on that long because it's just part of a semester in high school, so you can't like monitor it over a really long period of time or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. But it still gives you a pretty good
Yeah.
idea. Um, and then also like home economics, like cooking, learning how to sew your own
Yeah.
clothes so you don't just go buy out two clothes all the time and waste more money. Like those
Mm-hmm.
are really valuable skills that I think should fit into school somewhere,
Yeah.
and people should be able to take those up if they want to. And yeah, like high school, you only get like what six classes in a six class periods in a school day. So you're
Mm-hmm.
already filled like 4 or 5 with all the basic stuff, say if you're including PE all the time. So then you only get like one elective a year. So you could pick like 4 different things over the course of your high school. So you could pick
Yeah.
uh, first aid one year, economics the next year, home ec the next one, and then you already got um, like a really good diverse
Mm-hmm.
you know level of skills, at least all
Yeah.
at the basic level anyways.
Yeah.
And maybe I would even squeeze in like gardening, and hopefully you would have fresh food at the schools, and you could
Yeah.
everyone that ends up picking it, like they that goes to the school cafeteria and feeds the
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah, because
Mm,
not everyone's going to be interested in everything, but just
yeah, not
having the
everyone's going to be
option
interested in
there.
gardening or right. And then of course like still include music and whatever for kids
Mm-hmm.
that actually want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Um,
nothing wrong with being an art person or anything, but uh, yeah, I like that idea.
mm,
Um,
did you have any like really weird electives in your schools?
no, I came from a really small school, so I think the electives we had were really like, um, you could take online courses for, like, we didn't have physical teachers for languages, but you could pretty much choose any language you wanted. But then we just had like the FFA um, in sports.
Hmm.
I'm trying to
One
think,
of
and
the
then
weird
music,
electives that I had, huh?
and then music. But
Yeah, I had one of the weirder electives that we had. Like, it was like film appreciation,
mm-hmm.
which we mostly just watched movies and then tried to analyze like scenes in the movies and stuff,
Yeah,
which I guess was kind of nice, but I don't really see how I would really like. It's not really a skill that you use for anywhere.
yeah,
We did get some like a small amount of video editing and recording in as like a final project in the semester of that class. But it really wasn't the focus of that class. Like we weren't trying to film all the time. It was mostly we were just watching like iconic films and then analyzing them and writing about them. So it's more like a writing class than anything.
mm-hmm.
Um, I had a really bad experience at one point with that class because there was one asshole student
Mm-hmm.
that picked up the tripod after we were done filming, and I was walking back towards the classroom because we were filming outside,
Yeah.
and the dude charged at me like he was on a horse with a fucking
Oh yeah.
like what are those things called? The not a spear, but a javelin. He charged
Uh,
at me with a tripod like it was a javelin, rammed me straight in the back in my
oh man.
spine. He got sent to the principal's
Yeah, I
office.
bet.
Yeah. And then it was interesting. He ended up going I don't know if in the state that you were at, but they had the ROTC program,
Mm-hmm.
like basically like the like sort of like military kind of
Yeah.
recruitment almost in high school.
Mm.
Yeah, he got sent there. He got straightened out.
Yeah. In the bigger schools, they had that, but not in my school. Um,
Hmm.
so I know about that, but wow. When I played baseball, we used to do jousting. We'd take the smaller kids and we'd put them on the
Oh
back
boy.
of a bigger kid, and then they would get full catcher gear on, and then we would just take baseball bats and they would we'd run at each other
Charge
and
at
see if
each
we could
other.
knock them off the other person's back.
I mean, at least they kind of did it safely with the
Yeah,
padding,
yeah,
unlike the other person that just rammed me with a tripod that
yeah.
had no padding on my back.
That's crazy. Yeah. When I was in high school, we were a group of rough kids. They hated us. They couldn't wait for us to graduate all the time. Um, like this one time, I think we were either sophomores or juniors, and they were remodeling the computer lab, and so there was only like 5 computers in there that were like you could use them because rest of the room was being remodeled. So
Mhm.
we asked we asked our teacher if we could go to the library and do our research in there. And she was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. All right." And we're like, "Okay." And we went to the library, spent the entire period there, and then heard the bell ring, so we went to go move on to our next one. And as we leave the library, we run into the principal, and he's like, "Where have y'all been?" We were like, "In the library." He's like, "No one's been able to find you. No one's known you're at." And we're like, "Well, we told the teacher we were going to be in the library. Like we looked all over town for you. We noticed that your trucks were still in the parking lot, so we know I must have been a junior because I was driving. Um, and so we knew you guys had to be on foot, but no one could find you." And we were like, "Dude, we were in the library." Like we were so. It was such a common thing for us to be up to something that the one time we weren't up to something, and they were trying to catch us. Uh,
That's hilarious.
we almost made the music teacher quit because we were like bullying her. Like looking back on it, I'm not super proud of it, but it just like the whole class got in on it, just because we were just dumb kids. But
my
uh,
my background growing up is so different because I feel like most conservative people, especially people like people that really do support the Second Amendment stuff. They're the kind of people that are like, oh, I grew up on a farm or in the sticks or whatever,
mm-hmm,
and we all roughhoused and whatever, right?
yeah,
I did not grow up that way because I'm pretty sure it's because I grew up in a leftist state, but ours was like, and also because I'm in an Asian family,
yeah,
um, so we're not taught to like roughhouse really, and it's looked down upon. Uh,
mm,
it's really shamed, and also our schools were like, oh, if anything like bad happens, like particularly with like bullying, like if you see something, say something, right?
yeah,
You're never told to ever defend anybody. You're not told to
mm,
uh like intervene in any sort of way. You're told to go get the adult, like a teacher or a staff or a principal or whatever, and go get them to stop it, right? Like students are allowed to intervene or even stand up for themselves, right? Like if you're caught fighting back on the bully, you also get punished. Like that's what I grew up with.
yeah,
And besides that kid with the tripod in my middle school hitting me, the other bullies that I had, they did not really stop bullying. Like whenever like the teachers got notified or anything.
mm-hmm,
So like one kid, just because I sat next to him during like recess lunchtime, he sucker punched me in the gut just because he
mm,
didn't like me.
yeah,
Um, and he was like way bigger than me. I was a runt at the time. I was
yeah,
like freaking under 5 foot, like less than like probably 90 pounds or something. I was a fucking noodle kid.
mm-hmm,
I was an Asian nerd, goody two shoes type of guy that would remind the substitute teacher, "Hey, we have homework."
yeah, yeah,
um, and so the reason, sort of, I guess, that shaped my opinion about the Second Amendment and self-defense in
yep,
general was this this bullying, really. And like, oh, the government or the system or the school or the institution is largely unhelpful, with the exception of that like weird tripod case where the kid hit me with it. But most of the other times, if the kid's like beating somebody with their hands or uh, spitting on them, pulling their hair, name calling them a lot, making people stress the hell out in school,
mm-hmm,
depressed, suicidal, whatever. Like the school doesn't do a whole lot. At least mine did, anyways. Um, and at one point, I ended up fighting back one of my school bullies,
mm-hmm,
and for whatever reason, they're all kind of like connected in their like school posse or group or whatever, right?
yeah,
Um, And so the rumors or whatever or news spread around that I fought with that one guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a super popular sportsy kind of guy. He was like the rugby or football kind of like star in PE that would chase, like break everybody's freaking leg, not literally, right? But like break their legs in the
Mm-hmm.
sports and juke everybody and make them all fall and eat grass.
Yeah.
So he was that kind of guy. And I ended up picking a fight with him because I was just so done with being bullied by that guy. And this guy was a good like 6-7 inches taller than me, so it wasn't a really good idea that I did that. But it was more just a show of that I wasn't gonna like stand for it anymore than I successfully defeated that guy in a fight kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that when the bullying stopped, that's when I kind of like felt like, oh, defending yourself is the right thing to do,
Yeah.
and defending other people is also the right thing to do if they
Mm-hmm.
can't,
Yeah. Yeah, that was
defend
a
themselves.
crazy rule in school where it was like, even if you didn't start the fight, but you fought back, then you like get suspended or get detention too. It was like, so you're discouraging me from defending myself, which is weird. And even I, as a kid, saw that as like, that's not right. Um,
Hmm.
there was this one time I was a sophomore in high school, and there was this kid who had the same name as me, and we were always like butting heads. We never really liked each other, and he had a girlfriend at the time, and she was always like texting me and stuff. And I was just being like a nice guy, and I would text her back and whatever. I didn't want to pursue anything with her because she was a year younger than me, and I just didn't really like her like that. But it got to the point where he was like, why are you texting my girlfriend all the time? It's like, she's texting me. And so then it escalated and escalated till to the point where we were at the county fair, and he was there, and he approached me, and he was like this is it. You're not texting my girlfriend or whatever anymore. And I was like okay, I don't care. I'll tell her to stop texting me. And he's like, you know what? We're gonna fight. And I was like, okay, like I'm a 6'2" guy
Yeah,
and fairly built because
you're a
I play
beanstalk.
sports and stuff. And
Uh,
when I was in middle school, like I took karate, and we used to um we used to go over to a friend's house whose dad worked at the in the oil field, and his parents were divorced. So on the weekends, his dad would be gone, and so we'd go over to his house, and we'd make these like UFC fights. Like we'd pin people against each other, and we'd just fight. Um,
mhm.
so I was pretty experienced fighter. Like not gonna say like I was super good at it, but I knew how to handle myself. And so I was just like, okay, let's do it. And he's
At
like,
least more than
okay,
the average kid, anyways, right?
yeah. He was like, okay, meet me in the parking lot. And so we were literally all the way in the back of the county fair. And so we start walking out towards the parking lot. And my friend at the time was literally like grabbing every kid that he could and was like, there's going to be a fight in the parking lot. Come on, guys, there's going to be a fight in the parking lot. So I'm just walking in front of these people. And I swear, by the time I got out of the county fair, there had to have been like 50 or 60 kids following me. And not a single police
Yeah,
officer like stopped anyone and was like, hey, what's going on here or anything. And so then we get to the parking lot, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and
it was the
everyone's
parking
like,
lot
when?
of the school, right?
No, this was it wasn't at the school. It was in a different town where the
Oh,
county
okay.
fair was being held. But it was out in the parking lot, and we're just sitting there waiting, and we're waiting, and everyone's like, when's this fight gonna happen? And I'm like, well, the guy said he was gonna meet me out here, and so we were gonna fight. And we probably waited like an hour, and then someone comes up to me, and they're like, dude, he left with his mom. Yeah. I mean, this kid was probably like 5'7", 5'8", and fairly scrawny. And so I don't know what he was trying to prove, but um, his girlfriend never quit texting me. So
I mean, do
everyone
they
at school
still like
started calling
stay
me.
together though, or
Do what?
you
Would
said
you?
did that girl and the guy did they still stay together though, or
Not too long after that.
oh,
Everyone started calling or saying like Mister Steal Your Girl, and I was like, I don't want to steal anyone's girl, and especially not her. She wasn't like the
your
best
type?
cake of the crop there.
Yeah.
So from that moment, I knew it. Like I really didn't like that guy, and of course, like the seniors at the time heard about what happened, and so they made us like talk it out. Because we all played baseball together and basketball and stuff, and so the seniors of the team made us like talk it out or whatever. And I was like, this dude started it, and I never
Hmm.
liked that dude. And like to this day, even the last time I saw him was probably like 3 years ago at a friend's wedding, and the last I talked to him, he was trying to become a Fed and work for the FBI, and I was like, yeah, that's about it. I really don't like you. Go off to become a
I
Fed.
have a question about like you said you had like a bit of history with like kind of like fighting
Mm-hmm.
and wrestling and stuff. Did your parents kind of like encourage you to do that, or is that something you just wanted to do?
Um, well, my parents, like actual parents, were not involved in my life at all. And at the time when
Oh,
I was
okay.
doing karate and all of that fighting stuff, I was actually in a foster home. And I
Okay.
just went along because the mom did karate. She was a black belt in karate. And so I just went along with her because I basically got to do the classes for free since she was the one putting on the
Uh-huh.
classes. So I just did it because I could.
It was just out of convenience. She wasn't
Mm-hmm.
encouraging you like come
No,
along with me or anything like
no.
that.
I just
Okay.
wanted to do it.
Yeah. When I grew up, my parents actively discouraged me from fighting or getting in trouble with any of
Mm.
the other students. So trouble just came to me, and
Yeah.
then I was just like I don't want this anymore. So I was like something has to change since telling all the teachers wasn't like doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's when I decided to take matters into my own hand.
Yeah, I think that should be another one of those like electives. You should be able to like I think schools should put that on some sort of like self defense training and just basic stuff. Like when I worked at a prison, they just taught us like the basics of how to like subdue someone, basically like
Yeah,
wrestling.
I mean that's something that you would really need for that job anyway. So they should
Mm-hmm.
train you in
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't say that it should be like a spare elective.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that would be something that you incorporate into the PE courses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know how other schools do PE, but the way that my school did PE was uh, in a single semester you actually changed between uh, different kind of physical activities,
Yeah.
like two or I forget it's like 2 or 3 times within the semester you change the physical activities. So maybe like a third of the semester you could be doing like ping pong or basketball or like rugby or football or soccer, and then another third of the time you could be doing like weightlifting or whatever else, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then I think it could be like a section of P where like part of it is self defense or some other kind of martial arts,
Yeah.
um, like karate or wrestling or what have you.
Yeah.
Um, I think that would be a good point of structure of
Mm-hmm.
including that rather than saying let's have it as its own complete
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
its own elective kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of for me it's kind of like the old saying that like an armed society is a polite society. It's kind of like
Uh,
if all the bullies in the school knew that everyone else was trained in how to fight or at least like wrestle and stuff, they'd probably be less likely to go pick on kids. But
Hmm.
also, people say, well, then you're teaching the bullies how to fight, so then they know how to do it better. But like Joe Rogan always says that like um, teaching kids martial arts and stuff would be better, just so people know how to defend
But
themselves
the
and
thing
stuff.
is, so usually martial arts is or self defense. At least I would hope. Most cases, the people who teach those kind of things generally tell you, hey, like they guide you
Mm-hmm.
in philosophy a bit. Like, hey, this is not to show you to go beat up
Yeah.
your fellow students. This is to teach you just how to take care of yourself if there are bad people that try to beat you up, that try to
Mm-hmm.
bully you or whatever,
Yeah.
without going to the super deadly option of firearms or swords or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's a good in between uh, that helps you still deal with something at least but in a a less deadly way, at least, because people
Mm-hmm.
still freaking die by getting punched in the head.
Yeah.
uh but yeah, uh so I think that's the good thing that those uh like martial arts studios or
Yeah.
whatever teach people is not just, hey, here's how to throw a punch. It's don't punch people unless you really need to.
Yeah.
They also encourage people like, hey, if you can, also just like it's always safer to like run
Mm-hmm.
away rather than try to fight someone, because someone can always score a lucky punch on you, even if, no matter how
Yep.
like confident you are in your martial arts or whatever. Someone can blindside you. Someone can
Mm-hmm.
fight dirty, throw sand in your eyes, or whatever. Right?
Yep.
Don't ever think that fighting is the best option. And
Yep.
some of them will tell you like, oh, hey, uh, I'm going to tell you how to like kick and punch and stuff, but hey, I'm also going to start teaching you dialogue, how to de-escalate, and be like, oh,
Yep.
hey, you spilled your drink on me. Uh, like, oh, I gotta go change or whatever, or I was hot, thanks for the shower or something, whatever, right? Like, make
Mm-hmm.
light of the mood and not try to get in a fight with people.
Yeah.
Um, so I think those need to be more uh, like really included in society, and also um, it's also generally the sportsmanship that comes along with it too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
when you have sparring partners in those kind of self defense or karate or whatever, right? Contact sports.
Yeah.
Usually they tell you once you're done, kind of like fighting with your um, partner. They don't want to call them opponents; they call it your partner.
Mm-hmm.
That you bow or show respect to them or hug them, and because they're not your enemy, they're just your
Yeah.
fellow students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or fellow classmates in the self defense class. You're not there to go around beat up people and look down on them, right? So this also instills more morality, it installs community camaraderie with those people, and it teaches them value. Like, hey, these are human beings, they deserve respect. Don't beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. It also kind of gives those kids, because most of the time when you have a bully, which it kind of helps you understand it. It's not saying that it's right, but most of the time when you have a bully, it's because they come from a home that's broken. So sometimes
Yes.
having something like that gives them an outlet to get that anger out, because they can't like get that anger out at home, um, against like an abusive father or something. So that's why they're outwardly projecting that into being a bully. So sometimes, and just like you said, it kind of can help them learn to control that anger.
I'd also like to add on um, that I don't want to say it's a replacement for fathers, but we do
Mm-hmm.
have a issue with fatherlessness. There's a growing, I don't want to call it epidemic, but like it is a growing issue
Yeah.
with like single parents. Most of them are single mothers, right? The burden falls on the mothers most of the time, and that has
Mm-hmm.
to do with the family court system, which is a topic for
Yeah.
another time.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, a lot of kids do grow up without a father figure, um, and I believe those martial art courses can help with that, especially because most of the time, people that teach those martial art courses are typically men, because that's just
Yeah.
the realm of physicality or violence. It typically, falls with them, uh,
Mhm.
and I, I think that would help with that. It's not a complete replacement, but it definitely leads them in the right direction.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a good skill to have. Um, just in to like also know what you're capable of, because that's like one of those things of being a man is just like knowing your strength and like what you're actually capable of.
Right, like if you know, like, hey, like you should be able to gauge whether like you could even fight somebody too. It's like
Mhm.
trying to be the big hero and all is like really great, but also you also have to know like um, when to run and fight another day,
Yeah.
because like, hey, maybe you could lay down your life right now and you might be able to help somebody, but like if you think like you're definitely gonna die, then uh, like I would hope run
Yeah.
rather than do that, and then hopefully you can help more people down the line than than if you just decide to go in this one instance where it an almost certain death or absolutely certain death, that this way bigger hulking person that's like
Mhm.
10 inches taller than you and like 100 extra pounds that would just crush your freaking skull, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't pick a fight with that guy.
Mhm.
Even though it's right to defend people, it's like I don't think you're gonna do much defending against this person if you try
Yeah.
to stop them.
Mhm. Yeah. Like for me it taught me how to like kind of what we're saying like de-escalate a situation, because like the only fight I've been in, like a street fight or like a spur of the moment thing, was one time when I was in high school. We were skipping class, but we just like went to the gym to play pickup basketball. And I think it was when I was a senior and basically like school was winding down, we're about to graduate. And so we were just skipping class and playing basketball in the gym, and then it got kind of heated because my friend was like, we were just playing pickup basketball. So he was like fouling me, and he was like, it's a pickup game. We don't like call your own fouls and stuff. And so I'd call a foul or whatever, and he'd be like, oh, no, that wasn't a foul and whatever. And so then one time he went to do a layup. And so I literally just like bear hugged him in the middle of his jump. And then he came back down. He's like, that was definitely a foul. And I was like, well, earlier you literally slapped my hand and made me miss the shot because you fouled me and you didn't think it was a foul. So then we got in kind of a heated argument, and then it kind of started to de-escalate, and he went back up to the key or the top of the 3 point line there, and I picked up the basketball and I wasn't looking, and I just turned around and I went to throw it, expecting him to like be looking at me, and he wasn't. So I belted him in the back of the head with the basketball.
Oh,
And I was like, immediately, I was like,
like
dude, like,
wait,
I'm
were you
sorry.
trying to like pass it to him
Yeah, I
for
was I
him to
was
like
trying to throw it
shoot
at
from the three
him,
point? Oh,
but
okay.
like because we were on opposite teams, so I was just trying to give him
Uh,
the ball back because it was like his turn to have possession. But I was trying to do it more aggressively because I was mad. But I didn't realize, because I just
yeah.
turned around and did it, that he wasn't facing me, so it just hit him in the back of the head. So he immediately turns around and rushes me. And so he tried to like come up and grab me, but I was able to get him on the ground, and then I had his back and I put him in a chokehold. And so my first instinct was not like, oh, I'm just going to beat the crap out of this guy because he's obviously mad at me. I got him in that chokehold and I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't really mean to hit you in the back of the head with that basketball. I was like, are we good now? And he's fully in this chokehold and I'm kind of tightening it down. And he was like, yeah, 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 man, we're good. And I was like, all right, let's go back to play.
It's like, yes, I have no choice but to be good, or you're gonna keep choking me. Yes, we're good.
I was like, if we're not good, then I can tighten this more, and you'll be out in a couple of seconds. So
my god, my earliest freaking like fight that I had to like defend myself with was wasn't even in Miller High School. It's in freaking elementary school. I think I
Yeah.
was like in third grade. Um, and it was totally random, unprovoked. I swear. I didn't even know these two kids. They were twins, identical twins.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't even at school. I was on my way walking home from school, and they live like on the same block roughly, I think. So they were following me like on the same way to like to my house, or I guess to their house, but like we're like, yeah, and they're on the same block. So um and if I remember correctly, they were yelling something about my sister. Apparently my sister was enemies with their older sister.
Mm.
So they thought they would fight me. I'm like, what the hell? I
Oh.
have nothing to do. I don't even really talk with my sister. Like, we're not close. Like, what the hell
Yeah.
is this? They're just jumping me. Um, and they start trying. Well, like first they're across the street. We're not on the same side of the sidewalk, and they're just yelling at me from across the street about my sister. And They grab the rocks from people's yards, and start trying to throw it at me. But we're in like I'm in third grade, I think, or second grade, and
Mm-hmm.
they're younger. They're like in first grade, I think. Um, and so they start trying to throw rocks across the street, and their tiny first grader arms can't throw the rocks that far. They go in the middle of the street instead of all the way to the other side of the sidewalk where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there were rocks on my side of the street too at the house I was at. So I started throwing rocks at them. Uh, the rocks that I was throwing was actually reaching to the other sidewalk. It
Yeah.
wasn't hitting them, but it was like enough to scare them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they rush into the middle of the street to get their rocks to get closer to me, right? So they could
Yeah.
be in range. Uh, Saw that they started rushing me, and I immediately grabbed like two big handfuls of rocks rather
Mm-hmm.
than like a few stones and like throwing one at a time to be like
Yeah.
accurate and throw it further. And I just shotgun pellet both handfuls of rocks at them, and they drop all the rocks that they were carrying that they were trying to throw at me. And then that did like that only slowed them down for a little bit. They kept rushing me onto my side of the sidewalk, and then they started trying to get like throw hands and feet at me. Uh, but I'm like a good 6 or so inches taller than these first graders.
Yeah.
So I'm just like one of them. I just like grab their arm and then like kind of like spin them around and then like yank them down so they're on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then the twin brother gets mad. He's like, "You don't do that to my brother!" And then so he starts like trying to flail his arms even faster at me. And so I grabbed his arm and the back of his neck, and there was this like stone pillar fence kind of thing that has like a wood bar in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna like smack his head against this thing,
Yeah.
but then like my mind is like I don't know if you ever saw like I think it's like Dr. Holmes or Sherlock Holmes or whatever,
Yeah.
where he's with I think it's like Robert Downey Jr. or something. He's like, I'm going to discombobulate, blah blah blah, and like has all this mental things of how he's
Yeah.
gonna fight and whatever. So like I'm in my head, I'm about to like smack this first grader's head into this stone like fence pillar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute, like I'm gonna get in trouble for fighting because my parents don't like me fighting and
Yeah.
stuff. And this is like getting super serious. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, how hard I'm gonna hit this kid's head with this, like if it's gonna cause brain damage or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like really weird thoughts for a third grader thinking about brain damage. But
Yeah.
and then so I just immediately stop like an inch or two away from the stone pillar, lift him back up, and then like trip it on the back of his foot and then put him on the ground. And then I run home because I don't want to fight anymore.
Yeah.
And these two freaking kids that I was just like kind of manhandling yell at me from the ground, like, "Yeah, we won. You better run." I'm like, "What the hell? You want me to turn around?"
be like that. Yeah, I mean, I used to always wrestle with my brothers and stuff because I'm the oldest of four. Um, so we always used to wrestle and stuff. But it wasn't ever too serious. But they never won. They'll say if you talk to them, they'll probably say they won one here or there, but no one ever won against me. I was just always so much bigger than them. So
Was it
yeah,
actually like fist fights with your siblings, or was it just kind of
no, it
like,
was always wrestling. We wouldn't really get into
okay,
fist fighting, like hitting each other and stuff, but you get mad at each other and whatever, and uh, just start wrestling and whatever. Of course, I was always like into the UFC and stuff. It was kind of one of the first things I wanted to do. Was like I want to be a UFC fighter, and so I was always watching that and stuff. And then like WWE wrestling, we would do that for fun and
mm,
stuff too. So I would always be trying to like get him in arm bars or and stuff. Like I like the submitting and stuff. I guess I kind of really liked wrestling. If my school probably would have offered it, I probably would have done wrestling. But at my school, we only had basketball and baseball. And
mm.
now they have track and some other stuff. But when I was there, it was just baseball and basketball for guys, and the girls had softball, basketball, and volleyball.
Did you ever like accidentally like injure your siblings while wrestling and stuff? Like to the point where it's kind of like they have to go to the hospital or something, or is it just like,
No, nothing ever like that.
oh, okay,
I think I was pretty good at knowing like when to stop before I seriously hurt someone.
uh, mm, yeah, none of the times I ever got in fights or like bullying ever got like really bad. Um, at least like that, like where I was hospitalized or something like that. Um, there was the one guy that I talked about that I stood up to. Uh, so that one was we were in like PE. We were lined up to go to the gymnasium. It wasn't really a line up. We were like packed in. I don't know why the school had this, but they basically had a box shape and we were all supposed to stand in it. But the box shape is kind of small, so all the students are kind of packed in like sardines.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy that I was really mad at, the bully that I had, was like just an inch in front of my face. And I did not like him being in like my personal space bubble because like
Yeah.
I'm kind of like an introvert, want my own personal space.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm mad that this kid's in my freaking personal bubble. So I blow at him so he would like move, but when I blow air, spit came out. So I accidentally
Oh,
spit on this guy.
yeah.
And so he immediately starts trying to like throw hands at me. And my immediate response was just choke this guy out because he's taller than me, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't throw hands. Um, and I did for a good, I don't know, like 5, 10 seconds. And then, but he just like picks me up with both arms under my armpits and shoves me away from him. And I grabbed on still kind of hard. My
Mm-hmm.
hands, when they slipped down, they left these scratch marks
Yeah.
down from like his Adam's apple down the middle of his chest. So it left like a good like 6, 7 inch like
Mm-hmm.
scratch marks of like three or four fingernails of like each of my hands. So there's like 6 scratch marks going down like that. And we shared we had like inside the locker rooms, there's like 4 rows of lockers or something. And then I had the same bench with him behind me on the opposite lockers behind me. And I turned around and see like I saw him like remove his shirt and I saw the marks on him. I'm like, are those from like where'd those come from? And he's just like mad at me. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, I was strangling you. I don't remember scratching you, like clawing
mm-hmm.
down at you. Like how'd that happen? It's like, was that like when you threw me? That was weird. And but yeah, that was like when everyone started like telling all their friends or whatever, all the other bullies about the fight and stuff.
Yep.
They started calling me Scratches because of it. And I was like, I didn't scratch. I was strangling. He pushed me. That was an accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, but whatever. I don't care. Call me Scratches. At least you guys aren't like actually like hitting me anymore or
Mm-hmm.
dumping shampoo. Someone brought a freaking like those hotel shampoo bottles. One of them
Yeah.
brought that shampoo bottle and dumped it on my freaking head.
Wow.
And yeah, and like other people, most of the time it was just like name calling and stuff, calling me like teacher's pet or
Oh yeah.
freaking short because I'm Asian and I'm short, and
Mm-hmm.
they're picking on me for that. So yeah.
Yeah. Uh, one of like the worst fights I ever saw was I was already graduated from high school, and we used to go over to my friend's house, um, and we would party and drink and everything. And so we went there one Saturday night, and we were drinking and everything. And there was this guy. I'm trying to think. I don't want to use his real name, so we'll just call him Ben. So Ben was over here. Ben was like already an alcoholic at 18, 19 years old, however old he was at that time. And so he was basically just sitting in the corner with his girlfriend and just drinking straight whiskey out of the bottle. And then, so the night goes on and we're just partying and drinking and having fun. Then one of uh, this other guy, I'll call him Greg, he walks by him and Ben is lifting his bottle up to take a drink. And Greg accidentally walks into him and makes him spill his drink. And so he stands up and he's like, "Hey, dude, like, what the heck?" And so Ben is like a 5'10", 5'11" scrawny guy. Like, he's almost skin and bone. And Greg is a farm boy who's worked on a farm his entire life. And he's probably 6'1" and beefy, big guy, broad shoulders and everything. And he's like puts his finger in his chest. He's like, "We're gonna go outside and fight." And of course, we're all like drunk teenagers, so we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we go out
You
there.
guys were already drunk at that
Yeah.
point.
And I'm talking to Ben, and I'm like, "Dude, you don't want to do this. Like, I know you're already like canned over here. You're pretty drunk, but so you don't want to do this." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna go to my car. I'm gonna get a cigarette, and I'm gonna smoke it, and we're gonna fight." And I'm like, "You don't want to do this." But he's like, "No, I'm gonna do it." And I'm like, "Okay, make your own choices." And so he goes to his car, he gets a cigarette, he smokes it, and then he's like, "Okay, let's do this." And they both get up, get their fists up, and Ben throws one punch at Greg, and Greg immediately just hits him right in the face. I think he knocked him out then, but then he's on the ground and he's pounding him more. So three of us get over there and we pull Greg off of him, and Ben's all messed up. And then
Yeah, Greg's
so
a
so
savage.
Greg's over here like he's like, "Oh yeah, I got him, it's over." And then someone else points out, they're like, "Greg, like, look down at your shirt." And he had probably a 6 or 7 inch slit in his shirt. And so we look back over at Ben, he has a knife in his hand. And so then two or three other people jump on this dude and start beating him up more now that he's unconscious. And
Oh shit.
so he eventually gets back around, and I'm sitting there talking to him. I was like, "Dude, you shouldn't have done that. You should not have brought a knife. You just said you wanted to fight this guy." And he already at this point, the right side of his face was completely swollen to the point where he couldn't even open his right eye. And he's bleeding out of his nose and everything. And I was like, "This dude needs to go to the hospital." I was like, "Is anyone here sober? Because I'm not taking him to the hospital because I'm not sober at all." And someone
Mhm.
finally got someone to take it. It may have been his girlfriend. Uh, and that dude ended up losing his job over that because he couldn't go to work for like 2 weeks because he had a serious concussion. And I was
Ooh.
like, "Dude, why would you do that?"
Did he end up saying like he regretted that or something?
I don't know. I never saw him after that.
Oh.
And I never saw him again in my life after that. But I tried talking him out of it. I was like, "You don't like even just hand to hand." And I mean, it would have been over at that point. He just knocked him out and got a couple more punches in on him. and he was fairly fine at that point. Like he probably broke his nose. But then when those other people jumped on him, I was like, oh, that was the only fight that I saw in those. We were pretty good kids when we were obviously we were drinking and stuff, which we probably shouldn't have been doing at that age, but when we went to do these parties, we'd always have everyone put their keys in a bowl and put it in a cabinet somewhere, and no one was allowed to leave. You came there and you had one drink, you're not leaving, you're not driving out of here. And so everyone would spend the night there and everything, but for the most part we were good kids, but that dude just wanted to pop off for some reason. Just because that dude accidentally ran into him. Like you know, you could have just been like, "Hey, dude, why'd you do that?" And he might have said sorry. I didn't mean to do that, but
Wait, he just immediately jumps like, "I'm gonna fight you now."
yeah, I guess because he was just so
Oh,
drunk at that point. I think he came from like a troubled home and everything, but or maybe he just wanted to look tough in front of his girlfriend. But if he would have actually stabbed him and like actually hurt him, then that wouldn't have been good at all. Someone might have actually
yeah,
killed him.
especially when everyone's drunk and you can't drive somebody to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we probably should have stopped the fight there, but everyone was, I guess, drunk and like, yeah, let's see a fight because everyone knew that Greg is so much bigger than him that it's not going to last long. So, but no one expected him to go to his car to get a cigarette and also a knife. It's a good thing he didn't like go get a gun.
The was it not common over there that people just had like pocket knives or whatever on them?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty common, but I guess he didn't have it on him because, or may
Yeah,
he may have had it on him already and
and he
actually
just
went to
wanted
the
the
car
cigarette.
to, yeah, that was crazy. I was like, dude, don't do that. Don't like just go up there and be like, hey man, I don't want to fight anymore. Whatever. But no. I had to get him around. I splashed water on his face and I looked at him and I was like, dude, you need to go to the hospital. You are not good. Like he couldn't tell me where he was. He couldn't tell me his name. I was like, someone get him to the hospital.
Oh damn, that was a serious then.
Mm-hmm. They wailed on him pretty good. I mean, don't do that. I'm not saying anyone was right in this situation, but you,
That
you
was more wrong.
yeah.
uh, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't drink is because like I'm pretty sure that like I don't want my choices kind of
Mm-hmm.
what is it inebriated or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't want my choices influenced by alcohol in any
Mm-hmm.
way.
When you're drunk, everything
Uh,
sounds like a good idea. There were some times where we'd like start drinking. Of course, we're way out in the country, and we'd probably get on like four wheelers or side by sides, and we'd go to some like abandoned houses and just like kick doors in and stuff. But we'd never like get in our vehicles and drive home after an entire night of drinking because we would go hard. We would drink a lot. It's surprising that no one got hurt. There was this one time. It was no. It was right after prom. It was the prom after party. Um, there was this big fella. He was like the only person in the school that was bigger than me, and he went. He immediately went hard. He did like 3 or 4 shots of Jaeger, and then he like beer bonged some vodka, and so it was literally like midnight, and this dude was already passed out. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go to the bathroom because I need to throw up." And we're like, "Okay, go throw up." And usually you come back and start drinking more because you're just dumb. But he never came back, and so then the next person went to the bathroom, and he was just passed out on the
so
floor. So
oh
I
boy.
mean, we would just stand over him and pee. And I remember the next morning he was talking. He was like, "Dude, sometimes I'd wake up and I just look up and someone's just pee." And
The
so I
dong
just
is
go
there.
back to sleep. Like, oh man. We would
Did
do
did he
stupid
think he was
things.
dreaming, or he was aware he was awake?
He was aware. He'd just be like, "Oh, that's happening. I'm going back to sleep. I don't want to think about it."
Oh, that's crazy.
We did this thing one time. Um, one of the kids that we used to party with, he went off to college, and then he was like back for the summer. He was like, "Dude, I learned this like new game. It was called like beer pong bowling. So you would set up the table
Ball.
like you were gonna play beer pong, but what you would do
Okay.
instead was someone would run at the table, and then as they're running up there, you would pour a bunch of beer or water or whatever on the table. And then as they run at the table, they would dive and try to knock over as many cups. Well, basically, you would knock all of them over because, but as you're doing that, you would be pouring the beer, and they would try to like catch the beer in their mouth. I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever, but sure, I'm down.
I don't imagine it would be hard to knock all the like
Yeah, I
the
think
cups
the
off the
I
table.
think the goal of it is just to get covered in beer because obviously you're gonna
It's
knock
just
all
a
of them over.
beer water slide.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, we'd all just get drunk, and then we'd all end up just going to sleep wherever you ended up, on the floor of the kitchen, in the living room, on a couch, if you were lucky enough to like get a bed. And we were crazy kids.
I'm surprised that you guys, as like kids, were able to kind of like set up good enough rules
Mm-hmm.
around drinking that like no one drives home drunk and stuff.
Yeah.
Like as teenagers, like that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, this one time a kid showed up from a neighboring town, and he tried to sell drugs to everybody. Like he had some
Like
pills.
hard drugs.
I don't remember exactly what, but he had some pills, and he had weed, which was whatever. Some of us
Okay.
smoked weed at that time too at the parties, but he was trying to sell this stuff. But then he was talking to this girl, and he was going a little bit too far, so we just kicked him out. We told him to go home. Like, no one here wants to buy your pills. Like, maybe some of us might buy weed off of you, but once you're over here, like, one of the girls came up to us and was like, "This dude's being super creepy and stuff," and so we were like, just get out of here. I don't even know how you
Well,
got here.
was he like trying to coerce them into really buying the stuff, or was he just being
I think he was
like
trying
rapey
to,
creepy?
yeah, like rapey, creepy, and
Oh
towards
yeah.
one of the girls. So
Uh-huh.
we definitely didn't stand for any of that. But none of that really happened. There was very like we had that fight, and then that one incident, and this was over the course of like 3 or 4 years that we were doing this, because it started when we were sophomores, or started when we were
Mhm.
juniors, and then kind of went a little after high school until everyone started doing their own thing, and we quit hanging out like that. I think it was basically around the time that we were legally able to drink. Then we moved on to bars instead of partying in the shadows.
Were you able to like stay in contact with any of your like high school friends? Like I don't know any of mine.
No, I did for a while, but then uh, people went off to the military, and then some of the people, it was it's just that thing, like you're friends with them because you have this one thing in common, which is I have to see you every day at school. So
Yeah.
and some of my friends, we just like fell out and stuff, and um, I mean, if I put in the effort to contact some of them, I mean, there's some that I contact on and off sometimes, but people are just at this stage of my life, everyone's like married and having kids and stuff, so it's you're at that stage of life where it's harder to get together.
Mm,
So you were never into drinking? Did you try it ever?
uh, I think I mentioned this to you where you remember the conversation that we had on X where like one person just started trying to insult me, being like, "What are you high and stuff?" And I'm like, "No, I'm sober and whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I said I was only sober for like a year or something, which is
Oh yeah,
technically
yeah.
not true. It was actually shorter than that.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of like alcohol I had to drink with my wife is like very minimal. It was like one of those super diluted soda type alcohols.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I remember. I
and I
remember.
drank like maybe like half the 16-ounce can, so like 8 ounces of super light alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's only enough to get me like sort of like a tingly feeling in my head. It
Yeah.
wasn't like I was drunk or like passing out or throwing up or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I generally know my limit. Well, I've never really ever hit like a limit
Yeah.
like of that kind of like seriousness, like throwing up and whatever,
Yeah.
or blacking out or anything like that. So like my limit already that I set for myself is like if I start feeling the buzz, then I'll just like leave it there and like let that ride. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so and I kind of know where that is. Um, I the like the most I usually drink is I'll just out of curiosity, I'll be like, "Oh, what is that? I haven't tried that type of alcohol," and I'll just take a sip, like
Yeah.
literally just the smallest sip, just enough to like coat my tongue, and
Mm-hmm.
then most of the time it's like strong alcohol. So it's most of the
Yeah.
time it was never like the soda type of alcohol stuff that I had with my wife. And I don't know why people like alcohol because to me it tastes like paint thinner or something. Like it just tastes
Mm-hmm.
awful and smells awful. So I pretty much always spit it out when that happens.
Yeah.
Uh, Besides like going to church and having like communion wine when I was really young,
Yeah.
um, like the earliest time I had alcohol like in a good amount was in high school. I think it was either my sophomore or junior year. And one of my classmates also like they brought a uh, basically like a water bottle that was refilled with the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was also like a really light soda type of alcohol
Yeah.
that tasted like grapefruit or something. Uh, and they just poured it for me in my little like apple juice carton that I had because
Mm-hmm.
I used to work in our school's cafeteria, so I was allowed to have my food with me inside the classroom and
Okay.
eat while everybody else is like has their notebook and stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then so I finished my drink, and they're like, "Oh, here, try some of this stuff," and they poured it in my apple juice container, and then I drank like maybe 4 ounces of it. We tried to get my other friend, who's even nerdier than me, to drink it, and he absolutely refused. So I drank his portion because they already poured it in the container.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and and then after that, the next class period that we went to, I already found out like that was my limit where my head started buzzing,
Yeah.
and that one was not a good buzz. That like when I was trying to focus on my studies and whatever the teacher was saying, like I
Mm-hmm.
could not focus. Um, it was worse than when I drank with my wife in the last year.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's just because I'm older now that I have more tolerance or what, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, slightly more.
Mm-hmm.
Still not a lot. Um, but yeah, so I typically don't actually drink alcohol. Like I just
Yeah.
usually spit it out. There was one time I remember when I was like, I can't remember if I graduated college or it was like I was still in like my. I went to college for like 6 years, and it wasn't for like a doctor degree. Like this was just because my uh, college advisor was really stupid and did
Yeah.
not tell me like which classes I was really supposed to take. And
Mm-hmm.
then by the time I got to my like fourth, no, like third year, uh, the classes I was taking apparently required like two requirements rather than just one. And then like it branched out into two different areas. So I took one branch of all the required stuff up to my junior or senior year, and then apparently I had to do all the other half of the branch like by itself. So it took me 6 years to do that.
Mm.
Um, and then so I got really into the whole like Pokemon Go game when it was the craze. And I actually had like my own community surrounding it in my city and stuff. So we went over to a pier to catch a lot of water Pokemon, and my friends brought out uh like Fireball or whatever I think that's the name of the alcohol, and then they said it was supposed to be like really sweet, like honey. So they gave me, and they already knew that I don't really drink alcohol, so, but they still gave me like an entire capful, not just a small like sip. And I switched it around in my mouth, and I was just like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Like, this is not sweet. I just spit it out because I
Yeah.
was like, this still tastes like alcohol to me.
Uh huh. Yeah. I always really liked whiskey. Um, I still do. And I mean, there was a point in my life where I was pretty much an alcoholic. It wasn't like I was drinking uh, for really any reason. It was just like I like to do it, and it was like socially acceptable. So most nights I would come home from work and I would probably drink a beer or two, and then on the weekends I would go through an entire like handle of whiskey. Uh, but then about the time I got married, I kind of just stopped drinking, and then it was kind of like I would drink at like family events and stuff, or every once in a while, eating or something, I would have a drink. But then now it's gotten to the point where I hadn't had a drink in over a year until literally last weekend. We were hanging out with some friends, me and my wife, and she convinced me to just have one drink, and I was like, okay. And I had a whiskey again, but that wasn't even enough to get me buzzed or anything. But I used to drink till I blacked out a lot, like, especially when I was partying. I never threw up, but I would drink till I blacked out. Looking back on it now, I'm like, how did I even do that? It's not, being drunk is not a great feeling for me, but for some reason I liked it at the time.
Is it just like in the moment that you're drunk, or are you talking about like the hangover sucks, or
Oh
the
yeah, the
drug part
hangover
actually
sucked
sucks?
too. But like just the feeling of being drunk, like the spinning and stuff, like especially if you drink to that point to where you're almost blacked out and then you
Uh,
go lay down to go to sleep and you like close your eyes and it feels like the entire room is spinning around you.
uh,
I got close to throwing up once. My buddy went off to the Marine Corps, and when he came back after he graduated boot camp, we threw him a big old like party, and um, I had drank like someone had their truck bed and had the tailgate down, and there was literally from one edge of the tailgate to the other was some sort of liquor. And so I literally had this cup and I just went by and like poured that in there, poured that in there, poured that in there. And I also brought with me an 18 pack of Tecate. So I killed that. And then that's when I was like starting to move on to what other people brought. And so that's when I was pouring all those in there. And I drank that. And then I continued to drink more beer and more alcohol. And then after that was over, I was laying down on the couch and like trying to go to sleep, but then like my eyes kept opening back up and I started staring at the ceiling fan, which was an awful idea. And so then I started yelling for my friend. I was like, "Hey, hey." And he came in there. He's like, "What, buddy? What's going on?" And I was like, "Dude, I think I'm about to throw up." And he was like, oh, "Okay." And he brought me a trash can. And I ended up passing out before I threw up, but that was the closest I ever got.
you have
My
a
dogs are
really
making
high
noise in the
alcohol
background.
tolerance.
Yeah. I was a pretty big guy. About 6'4", 190 to 200 pounds, so I could drink. And I'm mostly German too, so I think that kind of helps. But I sure love
Have you
whiskey.
ever visited like Germany or
No, I would love to.
European countries?
I've never been to Europe. I've been to Mexico twice, and I've been to Puerto Rico. It's the only times I've been out of the country. but I would
Okay.
love to go see Germany. Um, in the
I've traveled quite. I would. I think I consider it extensively.
mm-hmm,
I've had several road trips. Well, maybe not several, like four, like three or four road trips all around the U.S. Mainland states.
mm-hmm,
Um, I probably visited over like 30 or 40 states. Um, as one of the road trips, we took like two whole months off our like summer vacation off to go do that. They're all family, and then or maybe it wasn't 2 whole months. It was like a month and a half. Um, and then another time, our family went to Vietnam for like I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks.
mm-hmm.
That one was pretty nice. I unfortunately most of me and my siblings we don't speak any much Vietnamese,
Yeah.
and then so my dad had to do all the translating,
Mm-hmm.
and my uncles that went with us too.
Yeah.
Um, and even I have to say, like even in the touristy areas, they do not speak much English at all,
Yeah.
if any.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will speak like super broken English, but yeah. So I do not recommend for anyone that does not know Vietnamese to travel there because it's
Yeah.
not actually like tourist friendly for you guys. Um, and then I've also been to Switzerland. Uh, they mostly speak German, but it's
Mm.
like their own dialect of German. It's not like
Yeah.
official like German.
Yeah.
Um, but most of them do speak also like that German too, because they're taught it as like a
Mm-hmm.
official language. Like I think most of their like official stuff, like news broadcasts and stuff like that, or weather broadcasts, like those are all in like the official German, and then like the rest of their TV programs and everything is all in their like dialect of German.
Yeah.
Um, that one was kind of nice. The big city that I went to, uh, a good amount of people uh, at least understood English. Maybe couldn't really speak it, but they could understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I actually, for that trip, I actually studied German. So it kind of went kind of okay that I could do
Yeah.
greetings, order things, and stuff like that. So that went decently well.
Mm.
Um,
Uh, if you don't
and
mind, I have to go to the
yeah,
bathroom, so I'm gonna pause for a
oh,
second.
okay.
All right.
Did in just sightseeing. That's a really nice place to go. They have a lot of museums, a lot of historic buildings. Like even a whole like neighborhood is dedicated to uh, like being restored to its original state rather than trying to modernize everything. And they have like plaques everywhere that tell you the history of the town and stuff. And I went during close to around like the winter time, so there was some snow around there. It's like the
Mm.
mountainscape and everything is super beautiful over there. And then I've also been to Mexico a couple times on going on cruises,
Mm-hmm.
and then just docking somewhere. So it wasn't like too expensive that we stayed there. Um, and I've also been to Hawaii too. So I've been to like either like I think I've been to all the mainland states. So I think I've been to like 49 out of the 50 states.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, it was a pretty good experience. We didn't really stay too long in any of the states though, even though we went for like a month or so. A
Yeah.
lot of it was just like leisurely driving and then like sightseeing somewhere like really quick, like Mount Rushmore or something, or the
Mm-hmm.
Grand Canyon, and then like
Hmm.
okay, moving on, like next place.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to quite a few states, but not that many. I've basically been like along I-40. Because when I was a kid, my dad was a truck driver, and so sometimes when he would be coming through, during the summer when I didn't have school, he would like pick me up And then when he would take a run to like the east side of the country, I would ride with him, and then he'd come back through, drop me off, and go back to do his other things. And sometimes he would pick me up and we'd go out west. So it was kind of like that, like just driving through the states. But in my adult life, I mean, I've been to Kansas, Denver, Arizona, or not, no, New Mexico, um, and Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas. And I drove, when I drove to Tennessee and I was coming back, it took me through this route where I literally just drove up into Illinois and then like back down into Tennessee, and then I went like up into Kentucky and then back down into Tennessee and continued going west.
Mm.
But I'd like to go see New York City and in most of like the eastern side of America, and just see like Gettysburg and just a lot of historical places. Like I'd like to go to Washington D.C. Um, and see all the sites there, all the monuments and all that.
Mhm.
But mostly, like
I saw the
hmm,
I saw like all I don't know, it's Washington D.C. that has all of the monuments like the really tall I forget what it's called, but it's like this really tall pillar thing. You could
yeah,
walk inside of it as really long stairs. And we saw
mm-hmm,
the Abraham Lincoln Monument
yeah,
and that one like super really long pool or whatever it is. And
oh yeah, the
yeah.
reflection pool or something.
Mhm.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that's isn't that outside the Lincoln Memorial or Monument, whatever.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the Washington Monument's that tall like spire thing. I don't think that's a spire, but um, basically like an obelisk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see the White House, and I like to go to the
I,
Smithsonian, and that'd be pretty cool. Uh,
I've been to Statue of Liberty
hmm, yeah,
and climbed up inside of it and got to like the top where the crown thing is. Uh, we've been to the Grand Canyon, Mount Rushmore. I forget what like which state it is, but like there's one place that's like white sand dunes. Uh, into Yosemite.
hmm,
Uh, into we've been like all over the place.
yeah, yeah. I like the Rocky Mountains a
Seriously.
lot. If it if a majority of it wasn't in Colorado, I almost moved to Colorado before I knew about politics, and I'm so glad I didn't. Because they have those stupid laws like duty to retreat. Like that's so dumb. And
I don't
I wouldn't
understand
care.
how that works. Where like is it? I don't know if that only applies to like if you're out in public or if you're like if you're in your house.
Yeah, like if you're in your house, you
Because
have
like,
a
are you
duty
supposed to
to
just
leave.
abandon your house and let
Mm-hmm.
people steal all the stuff in your house? Like that's
Yeah.
like a fucked up thing to do. Like why would you tell people thieves basically have a right to all your property essentially,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you have no right to protect it?
you're supposed to try to retreat and call the police and not defend yourself. The last time I went to Colorado, we stayed in a mountain town called Vale. It's about I think it's about an hour west of Denver. But I went there with a bunch of friends, and we stayed in an Airbnb, and they all thought I was crazy because I brought my AR with me. And I left it on my bedside, and I was like, I understand what the laws they have here, but if someone breaks in here, I'm gonna shoot them. Take me to jail for not retreating or whatever. I don't care.
Uh-huh. Oh, there was this one really weird person that I was talking to. early this morning, overnight. I didn't freaking like. I don't think I really slept much at all today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was this one really weird dude that's like he wants to like a pretty much abolish the Second Amendment because he doesn't like that people use the "I'll not be infringed" line as an excuse to say no regulations at all. Period.
Mm.
Um, which I don't know why like why that person cares so much because people do all the time at the state and federal level anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not really like such a massive obstacle. Like you guys still do it anyways on the
Yeah.
gun control side. So I mean, sure, yeah, you could remove the Second Amendment if the states really wanted to, if the legislators really wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but it's too hard for them. They can't get the 38 states the three-quarter majority vote to do that. So of course they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But sure, like if you really wanted to, like try that. But I can almost guarantee that like it would pretty much just result in revolutionary
Oh
war or
yeah.
civil war, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. For
Because I
sure.
was like, I brought up the fact I was like, hey, like the government already tried to completely ban alcohol, which
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something protected in the first place as a right to have and drink, and it got so bad that the government was just like, we have to repeal this amendment
Yep.
banning alcohol. Like we can't do that. So I'm like, if you think like you're gonna like remove the amendment to then either ban or highly restrict firearms, like you're out of your mind if you think that's an actual real
Mm-hmm.
possibility. Like people would be okay with that.
Yep.
Like, it's not happening.
I don't understand
And
how anyone thinks that way. Like completely
and
ban them. What?
uh, they're like, we need to be like the rest of the quote unquote like developed nations. Like he said word for word, like they have it figured out. It's like their gun
Mm.
like violence or whatever, like they got it figured out. And then I was just like, not really. I'm like, okay, yeah, their gun violence is lower, but their other like homicide, crime, and whatever is
Yep.
not so great. Like Russia is supposedly a developed nation, and like they're like if you're talking about globally, they're supposedly like second or third with like the U.S. fighting
Mm-hmm.
like with China as also runner up for trying to take the world power seat. So I'm like, yeah, okay, well their homicide rate is higher than the U.S.'s. They're like ranked like according to like 2023 data or something. They're like 22nd in all homicides.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like guns, knives, everything, right? And then the US is like rank number 32. And then like you can go ahead and say like, okay, well all the other ones in between from first through 32nd place other than Russia are all like third world countries and stuff like that. So you can discount those if you really want to, but it's like, well, the US is still not number one then. So the argument that like all this gun control for whatever from Russia, like they've got it figured out, like
Yeah.
that's patently false or like objectively or easily like verified as false. So
Mm-hmm.
like there's definitely other underlying reasons why the US has the gun violence it does or the homicide rate that it does.
Yeah.
Um, which is like we kind of already talked about like uh the morals that people need to have and like the fatherlessness and all that stuff. Like they
Mm-hmm.
definitely like more people need to be grounded in I don't know, I guess morals
Yeah.
essentially so that they're
Yeah.
not seeking violence, at least not like extreme violence. Like people should like whatever throw hands and then like shake hands after that and be
Mm-hmm.
like whatever cool rather than I'm gonna go like your friend that went to the freaking truck is like I'm gonna go get a knife and stab somebody. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like people really need to figure out uh, less deadly means of dealing with confrontation, whether that is just talking things down or just punching things out.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I mean, like in Texas, there's mutual combat laws. So as long as if me and you agreed that we wanted to settle an argument by fighting it out, then we can shake hands and so nowadays people will like put it on video, like show I agree to mutual combat, you agree to mutual combat, we shake hands, then we fight it out, and no one can, unless I kill you, um, then I might get a manslaughter charge, but just fighting it out, that's completely legal. Uh,
Mhm.
and that sure, that's like okay if you both want to agree to it. That's kind of fine with me, but yeah, this this epidemic of these mass shootings, they always want to they want to blame the guns, but I think it's deeper than that. It's definitely just like a mental health crisis where we as a country are having. That they
Mhm.
even think that that's okay, and the way that they publicize this and everything. Some of these people are doing it just as like copycats, and they think that this is going to be the way to like put their name in history. Uh, and so
In
it's
terms of just like gun violence, by the way, like statistically, like it's not just like so the U.S. is by far like highest amount of citizenship owned
mm-hmm,
firearms or guns,
by far.
like by far.
I think we own more
Like
guns
I don't know
than
if people
all the
really
rest of the
realize how
militaries
much,
in the world.
right? Yeah, and like there, if you include all the countries, including third world countries that report their data, like the U.S. for gun violence per capita is like it's pretty similar to their overall homicide rate. It's like they're ranked number 32,
Yeah.
34, something like that. And then so they're like, well, wait a minute, isn't like the amount of guns like the issue? Like, well, no, like what do all these other third world countries have issues with? Like they have corrupt governments, they got
Mm-hmm.
gang violence, they have cartels or whatever you want to call them, yakuza, whatever the label is for them. You got these outlaw people that are organized, that are like running things
Mm-hmm.
in a really bad way that leads to a lot of death. And then if you want to go into like the like suicide kind of like firearm mentality, even though I don't think that's fair because that really is just a mental health issue.
Yeah.
Because um, Japan is also, I think most people would agree, is a pretty developed nation. Even though they got freaking nuked twice by the U.S. and got set
Yeah.
back a bit, but I think most people think that Japan is a fairly developed country. Like people see their light speed, their bullet trains and whatever, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
holy crap, like Japan is super advanced. Like what is the US doing? We're supposedly richer than them. Why is Japan so like amazing? Um and like their suicide rate, despite them not having firearms to suicide with and make sure that the death is more clean and guaranteed, uh, they still have a higher suicide rate than the U.S. despite all our gun suicide and
Mm-hmm.
all our other different methods of suicide. I mean, people jump off the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever, the
Yeah.
freaking uh, twin towers or whatever it is, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like it is a much bigger issue than, oh, we have a lot of firearms. Like no, you could flood the country with a billion more firearms, and if we cleaned up our mental health issues and whatever organized gangs that we have and stuff like that, I guarantee that our gun death rates or all homicide rates and the suicide rates would plummet dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that would happen. But I don't
Yeah.
think really the government has any interest in fixing those issues
Nope.
because it gives the people a reason to elect people. They're like, we have problems, come fix them. And then they're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, I'll do it. But nothing ever really happens.
Yep.
I mean, gun violence in particularly, like if people look at the trends or the stats, like they kind of bounce up and down all the time. Like they range between like low 40,000 to like um, around 50,000, maybe a little bit above, but it always bounces up and down around between those like two big numbers.
Yeah.
And it's been that way for the last, I don't know, century or so, right? Like even before we had the NFA of 1934, which was the biggest legislation since,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, ever, right? Besides like in the 18 somethings when we had anti gun laws with slaves and whatever,
Yeah.
right? Targeting specific groups of people. Um, like the gun violence was relatively the same. So I don't know how people can justify saying like, hey, we added the NFA, the GCA, the second NFA, all between those like last 9 decades, and we still have what people complain about, saying like record high gun violence and stuff, and say like, look, the legislation works. I'm like, how can you argue? Like, I don't see how people argue that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, in my opinion, or I would even like go beyond my opinion and say that it really is objectively like, verifiable that it's not the legislation that's helping, and we really do
Yeah.
need to focus on things like mental health, the suicides, and the organized crime. Like that really needs to be
Yep.
cracked down on.
Yeah. If we want to talk about like mass shootings, don't an overwhelming majority of mass shootings happen in gun free zones where guns aren't supposed to be? you know?
Um, there's some debate about that. Not like the occurrences or
Mm-hmm.
how frequent it is, but it's like people argue that it's like, oh, well, the shootings were already happening in those type of places, like schools or whatever,
Yeah.
and then because it was so frequent, then the gun control activists and the legislators then labeled those places as like gun-free zones.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even before or after, like it's still, I still think it's like the same amount. Like it's still most of the time people are going shooting up
Okay.
schools or sports stadiums because
Yeah.
there's just uh, a target rich environment with
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of people having arms to defend themselves, like in schools and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like no one's going around like mass shooting up banks and stuff where there's a armed
Yeah. They're not going
security
to
detail
mass
or something,
shoot
right?
police stations.
Or that too. Like
Yeah.
no one's going politically shooting like, oh, I hate all the right wing cops in here or whatever that are conservatives. They don't go. They don't do that.
Mm-mm.
They're like, well, why? Because all of them are armed
Yeah.
and trained, and they'll kill you for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, like, another thing you said was like a majority of the gun violence that happens in America is just gang violence and then suicides. So I don't really think you should put suicides under gun violence because it's something that someone's doing to themselves. It's not like being done to other people. But then, so you take that out of there, now you've just got gang violence, and that's just an inner city problem.
Yeah, and that's why I think like a lot of people don't think like when they just see the big number of gun deaths,
Mm-hmm.
which again I don't think are super big since like our automobile fatalities are roughly the same, so I don't think they're like
Yeah.
huge. Um, like they're when you classify them in ways that like they need to be solved in different ways, because you can't just legislate everything the
Mm-hmm.
same way, right? So like the thing about the mental health issues with suicides and like all of those other things like gang violence or just random acts of angry passion, and like someone goes and shoots their cheating partner or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh like or versus the accidental deaths where you need firearm education and stuff like that. Like when people say we need to have the education stuff and that'll somehow fix the gang violence when no one in gangs are getting like legal firearms to
Mm-hmm.
and then take the courses and getting the education and whatever. So like that's not going to fix any of that, right? That policy is not going to fix any of that. It's targeting the really tiny 500 deaths of like random accidental shooting deaths. Um, I mean, maybe they will also want to stop the injuries as well, which I've looked it up. There's like 40, 50,000 accidental firearm injuries a year. So, I mean, that's pretty good to stop too, I guess. Um, but again, I'm pretty sure we have way more auto like injuries than
Yeah.
fatalities. Injuries than like firearm
For
injuries.
sure.
So I don't think it's like, oh, we got to go rush out and do some kind of like new legislation.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, right, like you should just harden whatever existing stuff you already have. Like if you want to talk about like automobile regulations and stuff like that. Make the driving test harder to pass or something like that. Like make it so that if you miss, I think most of the time you can like get like 5 or something points off the driving test. Like make it 3 or 2 points or something, and then make it tougher for them to pass. Then if that's like
Mm-hmm.
something that you really want to aim at, like lessening auto accidents or whatever. But I
Yeah.
don't see them rushing to do that, even though the auto fatalities are about the same as firearm deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see the argument there. Maybe some people do both, and but I don't see it in like big numbers.
Yeah.
Like the gun control activists are, like they're way bigger numbers. Um, I don't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is like if they were trying to regulate like vehicles more because it's not even a right to begin with in like the constitution, it's like they'd have a
Yeah.
much easier time regulating them to save more people if that was really their goal, to save more
Yeah.
people. But like I think we all know it's not really about like saving people. It's just like
Yeah.
we want the gun control.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah. I mean, the truth is
which
that,
again,
yeah.
like I was trying to go back to the guy that I was talking about that was like really weird with the gun control stuff,
Oh, yeah.
because he's like, I want to take away the right. He specifically said he wanted to like remove the Second Amendment so that he could then like he wanted a federal gun registry so they could track
Mm.
everybody. And then I already told him no because I was like, that's already been ruled unconstitutional. It leads to
Yep.
gun confiscations. We don't want that. Um, and then he he claimed he wanted to increase or like expand the right to even bear arms by making everyone have to get a permit for it, and then the permit would supposedly, since it's now governed by the federal government rather than the states, would be give you national reciprocity. So then you can go travel in all 50 states with the same permit and keep and bear arms,
Mm-hmm.
which supposedly the Second Amendment was very supposed to act that way. So removing the Second Amendment to then use that as your goal to get this like national reciprocity doesn't make any sense to me. And then you're not really like expanding the right, you're completely dismantling it as a right and then transforming it into a privilege because you now need a permit or a license
Yeah.
to exercise what was supposed to be a right in the first place.
Yeah. That's a really, like, I think that's just a dumb argument. Like, there's different ways to go about that. And I think you've just made a dumb argument. Like, we could sit here and have a debate over if guns need to be banned or whatever, but the way that guy is going about it, I think, is about the dumbest way you can do it. That's
And
really
then
weird.
he was basically saying like the Second Amendment, like most gun control activists will argue that like guns are useless. You can't fight the government with it. They have like unmanned drones that will just like drop bombs on you. They have like fighter jets and tanks and whatever this and that. And then I was like, isn't that ironically a good reason why the Second Amendment doesn't just protect your right to keep and bear guns, but all arms, including all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you need to fight a tyrannical government, like all this
Yeah.
other stuff? And they're like, oh, well, you can't have a tank or you can't have cannons or rocket launchers. And I was like, well, the Constitution abiding states, like, yes, you can. And then
Yep.
somebody like chimed back at me, like, this is a different person than the person trying to remove the Second Amendment. Like, they were saying that, oh, it's illegal for you to drive the tank on public roads because the treads will damage the roads. And I
Mm.
was like, well, it's not like it's illegal to drive a tank on the public roads. It's just illegal to damage public roads, period.
Yeah.
Like that has nothing to do with a restriction on the Second Amendment. It has to do with destruction of like public property, tax-paid
Mm-hmm.
property. So like if you got your tank instead of the treads and you replace them with like rubber tires that are roadworthy, you could drive your tank. You could in those states that allow the tanks, you can drive your tank on the public roads just fine. Like there's
Yeah.
no issue. So it's not a restriction on the Second Amendment of what arms you can have and how you use them. It's just don't destroy property, right? It's the same thing. You can have any gun you want pretty much. You can have fully automatic weapons in those states. You just still can't commit murder and shoot people for no good reason. Like it still has to be within the bounds of like self-defense and
Mm-hmm.
like hunting or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think people should just be able to own whatever, but obviously that's not the way it is. It's so, and our gun laws just don't make sense. Like we've discussed already that the majority of gun violence that is committed is done with handguns.
It's, yeah.
And so then we have a law that says you can't have a barrel of a rifle that's shorter than uh whatever. I'm blanking on the exact length at the moment, but and
I
the
think it's like
overall
14 inches or something like that. 12 inches,
uh
14 inches, something around there. I don't know if it's like a federal or if
16
it's a
inches.
state by state.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
16.
the federal. I think that was in the NFA.
Okay,
It can't be shorter than 16 inches, or then it's technically
short-barreled rifle,
yeah,
then it
short
gets
barreled
regulated, and you
rifle.
have to have the tax stamp and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So
So I mean, technically, you could then have a shorter than 16-inch barrel. You just have to pay the tax for it. But
yeah,
like,
and
yeah,
do all the federal paperwork and stuff. But so we have that law because supposedly making it shorter than 16 inches makes it more concealable. But a majority of gun violence is
if you're
committed
still
by
gonna have a
handguns that are
12-inch barrel though, plus like a 8-inch stock and whatever, however long the receiver of the thing is, it's still gonna be like a 20-inch firearm. Like
mm-hmm.
you're not concealing that even if you had a trench coat, like you're
Yeah.
not concealing a 20-inch long firearm, and then like usually like the bottom of the magazine to like the top of the optic or iron sights is going to be like an I don't know, like 10, 15 inches in like height. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be some big boxy 20 by 10, 15-inch box in your trench. Like that's not hiding anywhere. I don't like, unless maybe I don't know, you as a 6 foot something bulky person, maybe you could get away with it. I definitely
Yeah.
can as a freaking 5'6" person, scrawny like that's not
Yeah.
hiding on my frame anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could put a folding stock on it and then maybe fit it in a backpack. Um, if it's like,
Okay, but then that's not like concealed on your body.
yeah,
That's inside a thing. Like you could argue the same thing. Oh, I have it in a trunk inside my car
mm-hmm,
or whatever. I don't know. Or like
yeah,
some people stick them in violin or guitar cases or something, and hide
mm-hmm,
it that way.
yeah. And then another point is like, I think it was during Biden's presidency, they were trying to say that shortening the barrel makes the gun more effective. And it's like, well, you obviously know nothing about guns because the
In
AR
what
was
sense?
originally invented to have a 20-inch barrel, and that's technically what the ballistics are ran off of is having a 20-inch barrel. That's the ones they used in Vietnam, the original like M16.
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
a
I guess the like effectiveness is dependent on the goal, right? So it's
yeah.
like how far are you trying to shoot out? Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll get more velocity out of a longer barrel. You also get more accuracy because of that too. But if your goal, I suppose, is to shoot people who are less than, let's say, 50 feet away from you, because like you're just mass shooting in a public place. I mean, the added some maneuverability, I guess, helps you, or less weight to carry it helps a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's, but again, like it's not. I don't know. I don't think it does absolutely anything to like decrease the amount of mass shootings because oh my
Yeah.
god, the rifle is like half a pound lighter because it's 16-inch barrel rather than 20 inches of metal. That's not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why the most common barrel length of an AR type rifle is 16 inches because that's like the bare minimum. And
And the other thing is the main reason why you would actually really want a short-barreled rifle would be more for home defense because
mm-hmm,
like you have to turn around corners and whatever
yeah,
hallways in your house. Whereas I don't think really anybody doing mass shootings actually cares because if they're in school buildings, the hallways in schools are pretty large.
Yeah.
If you're in a mall or something, it's a pretty open space in a mall. Like you, no one really cares about like maneuverability with rifles in that case.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if they're carrying, if we're talking about concealability, like handguns are go-to. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Exactly.
don't see a reason in our laws to have anything to do with restricting shorter barrel rifles for law-abiding citizens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the same thing goes with like sawed-off shotguns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing the legislators think like if you have like a sawed-off barrel that like the pellets will scatter too much, and then you're gonna like have more collateral damage or something like
Yeah.
that. Uh, which I mean, arguably is true, sure. For lawful purposes, that's also maybe something you might actually want because maybe you're somebody who lives kind of like an apartment
Mm-hmm.
and like you don't have super long hallways in an apartment. You just have short, like maybe like 5 feet, and you don't want to be having like 20-inch long barrel shotgun
Yeah.
with I don't know, inch and a half like spread of shotgun pellets all going in one spot
Mm-hmm.
when you want like the spread to be about the size of the human target where they would be in your doorway and you still need to maintain like maybe be in the back of your like as far back as you can in your apartment, which is only
Yeah.
like 5-10 feet in your apartment. So for those people, it would definitely be in like legitimately a legitimate reason why you'd want a short barrel shotgun
Yeah.
or sawed off barrel shotgun rather than force everybody to use long barrel shotguns. Like that also doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense to limit people in that way because there are intended or not intended. There are needs that justify that use
Yep.
for
Mm-hmm.
legal purposes.
Yep. Yeah. If I'm
And then
recommending
there were, hmm?
if I'm recommending something for like home defense, like especially if you live in an apartment, I don't really recommend a rifle because of over
Oh yeah, because
penetration.
over penetration, easily. Yep.
But I recommend everyone has a rifle in case you need it. But if I was going to recommend something for home defense, it'd be a shotgun, a pistol, or a carbine. Something just like an AR platform that shoots 9 millimeter, and something about like
Yeah.
a 6 to 10 inch barrel. I think that's best for home defense with hollow points, so you have less likely chance that if you miss, or if you do shoot someone, it over penetrates and hits a family member. That also is one of
Mm-hmm.
the rules of gun safety
Gun
is to
safety.
know what's behind your target. So you should definitely, just as a rule of thumb, if in case you have to defend your home and your life, you should automatically know, like, okay, my kid's room's over there or whatever. My dogs stay in this room or something, but things like that. It's good to have plans like that so you know.
I think it's also interesting with like that kind of stuff. It's like I don't know why. I mean, it's probably like because of cost, but I'm like, why are homes in the U.S. like the indoor walls are made of
Mm-hmm.
was it like plywood or something or what is it called?
Drywall.
Yeah, it's made out of drywall. Like bullets
Yeah.
punch through like several layers of that. Even just like
Yeah.
regular 9 mil, like
Mm-hmm.
ball ammo will
Yeah, I
go
think
through
even
like I
22 would
think like
go
5 layers
straight through
of that.
drywall.
Even 22 goes through like 3-4 layers of freaking of drywall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, compared to like when I went to Switzerland, like all of the interior walls are made
Yeah.
out of something way harder than
Yeah,
drywall.
that's a
So
thing in
I don't
America.
know. Yeah, and I don't know why. Again, other than cost, like why isn't that, especially when like guns are a thing, U.S. Like why isn't our infrastructure built for
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing? Especially like, well, we design our buildings for everything else from like earthquakes, fires to whatever, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, also why not like build them sturdier so that firearms don't penetrate the walls like
Yeah.
that? that seems like it would be an important thing.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things about America. In most other countries, they use bricks and cinder blocks and stuff, in which we use like concrete and stuff in like industrial buildings and businesses and everything. But in just your average home, yeah, it's usually just drywall. And then, I mean, if you're lucky, you might hit the studs, and that'll stop
Mhm.
some things, but it won't stop rifles. Maybe it'll like a 5.56. It'll probably help the bullet disintegrate, but
There's do you know what frangible ammunition is?
mm, uh,
So it's basically like I think it's almost like a powdery substance where, but it's like highly compressed.
yeah,
And then so when it hits any target, it's supposed to dump all the like all or
yeah,
most of the kinetic energy in there, and then not really penetrate and like shatter. It's still like they kind of tested it for like ballistic shells and stuff. It should still like penetrate like like the average human target unless they're wearing like
mm,
super heavy like bike leather jacket or something like that, or several layers like layers of denim or something like that if they're like aiming to attack people and they gear up for whatever reason.
mm-hmm.
Um, but it's meant to like not punch holes in lots of drywall.
Okay,
So that's supposedly like a rifle caliber thing, like that helps. But I don't know why you would really want to still use rifle caliber
yeah,
like, rounds, especially when they're more expensive than just handgun rounds. If it's still going to do the roughly the
mm,
same thing.
yeah. I mean, if you lived in a house alone out in the country, I would say obviously like you want to have the biggest upper hand that you can get. So if you just live alone, no dogs or cats or anything in your house, and someone breaks in, I would grab a rifle. But for most
Mm-hmm.
common things, like just pistol rounds or shotguns with a bird shot or buckshot. I mean, bird shot will it'll get people, but some buckshot. Uh, there's this guy called I can't remember his last name, but it's Clint is his first name, and he's a Vietnam veteran, and he has this YouTube channel, but he also has this business where he just trains people how to use firearms and stuff. But he said this, it was like pistol rounds are designed to go in you, rifle rounds are designed to go through you, and shotgun rounds are designed to physically remove a piece of your body and throw it on the floor.
If you're using slugs, yes.
Yeah.
I think also for like the argument of whether you should use a rifle or not for home defense is also based on uh, people's physical limitations too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the ability to control your recoil, have accurate shots,
Yeah.
and usually one shot doesn't. And a lot of people don't know this because they watch too much freaking Hollywood movies. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time, one shot does not put an attacker down.
Yeah.
Um, Usually, it takes like two, three, maybe even four. Depending what again, depending what you're hitting with them with, also depending on like where your shot placements are and stuff.
Yep.
And if you're using a handgun, like you're gonna be less accurate, so like that's harder to do. Recoils generally like more uh like of a thing that you have to handle. Uh, Even maybe I just suck at handling firearms right now. But
Mm-hmm.
even 9 millimeters, like you feel like the recoil is really
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or handgun, but maybe it wouldn't be that bad. Like if you're firing a 9 mil out of a carbine, that you have
Yeah.
more
It's a
points of
lot
contact
better.
with like a shoulder stock and a foregrip.
Mm-hmm.
But just having a one point of access with just the handle on a handgun, it's kind of unruly to handle the recoil.
Yeah.
At least for beginners, anyways, that are just trying to defend themselves. Like they're not trying to go full like mill operator
Yeah.
level of training. Um, for those people, it's way, way, way easier to handle a rifle
Mm-hmm.
like an AR-15 There's way less felt recoil. There's a lot more points of contact for you to hold the rifle with the buttstock, or for freaking blue states with pistol grips or whatever the hell they
Yeah.
made you change it to because they hate collapsible or foldable buttstocks and they make you have
Uh-huh.
thin grips and other stupid crap.
Yeah.
Uh, but like still, like you have a shoulderable surface, you have like the front rail guard to hold on. You have like 2, 3 points of contact that you're holding a firearm, so it's way easier to manage the recoil. And also, there's less felt recoil to begin with because the firearm is larger and heavier, so the recoil's not pushing the firearm all over the place or up, uh, compared to a handgun. So
Yeah.
that's another reason why it would be more beneficial for
Mhm.
somebody for home defense. And I don't think too many people think about that, especially like people who've never had a firearm before,
Yeah.
or even if they've had like a handgun, but they're too scared to use a rifle because they're like, oh my God, it's a big weapon, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and they're like, oh, it's weapons of war or whatever, so they just stay away from them in general. But
Mhm.
they are useful tools because of that reason,
Yeah.
or those reasons. Um, and same thing with like shotguns. I would say that the kick or recoil is about as much as like if you're the way that you control it, even though you have a shoulder stock. Um, it's for me, it still like kicks about as hard or upwards as like trying to control a 9 millimeter handgun
Mhm. Yeah, like a
because of
12
that
gauge.
extra kick from shotgun shells. Yeah, it was a 12 gauge. Um, and also, the other thing is, I don't think people realize how small the group is on a long barreled shotgun. Some
Mhm.
people are thinking, oh, you don't need to aim a shotgun. You just point in the general direction. You're going to hit everything. Like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Uh, or like even like 15 to 20 feet or like 10, 15 yards.
Mhm.
Uh, the spread of like your full length barrel shotgun, like 20 inches, is only going to be about 3 inch or maybe 3 to 5 inch spread. It's not going to be like a foot, like somebody the size of somebody's chest. Like you're not
Yeah.
hitting everything. So you're still going to have to get a good like side alignment on somebody
Mhm.
before you pull the trigger. It's not a aim
Yeah.
and shoot or like point and shoot, I should say.
Mhm. Yeah. Uh I really like pistol carbines. They are a lot easier to control. Like it's almost, it's literally like, like you said, shooting a rifle. There's like almost no recoil, especially if it's like a 10-inch barrel or longer with a 9 millimeter, and you're using like even just target rounds, like a 124 grain, right? Something like that.
Mhm.
Very easy to shoot them. Very flat shooting, and even out to like 50 yards, it's still like you can still hit pretty good groupings. Uh, so
When I had my firearms, uh, again, I lived in the suburbs, so my house isn't like super big, and I don't have a
yeah,
big ass yard. Like I don't live in the country, so like, and again, with like self defense laws saying like people have to be around like 20 feet. And I don't know, actually, it's like weirder. Like I don't know what it is with like leftist states saying like civilians like have to wait till threat is like way closer to you. Like they don't,
mm-hmm,
for some reason, they don't give people, civilians, the 23, 24 foot rule that police officers have. They think civilians have to wait till they're like 10 feet in front of you before you defend yourself.
yeah,
So I'm like, that makes even less sense. And they're like basically, so I never, when I'm what's it called again? Zeroing your sights
mm-hmm,
for like home defense, or at least when I was zeroing my sights for home defense, um, I found sort of the semi furthest point away in my house from the front door, which would be like behind my kitchen counter, is like right, like it has open sight to the front door,
yeah,
which is about like 20, 25 feet. Um, I zeroed it for that with like a laser pointer and stuff. And
Yeah.
then if you moved anywhere like further back in the kitchen for some reason, even though I just stayed behind the kitchen counter, you would get amount of like bore axis rise or whatever that you get or like drop from that is like an inch or something. So like if you're still aiming center mass of their chest, like you're hitting them. So like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't bother like trying to zero out to like 100 yards or like 50
Yeah.
yards or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know about Texas. Like if you can like if you're trying to hit something out to 50 yards, if that's considered self defense if they're out 50 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I
Unless they have a
guess.
firearm, then of course they can reach you.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know about that. I mean, if like they're on your land, and you say have like 30 acres, and you see someone on your land, I'm sure just seeing them there, and you're on your front porch and you can see them 200 yards out. I'm sure you're not just allowed to snipe them, but
uh,
um, but like if they have a gun and you see them moving in, you probably could. But uh, I think there's at least like I think you at least have to ask them to leave, and if they don't leave and stuff like that. But if they're not posing an imminent threat to you, I think for the most part you don't just have a right to shoot them. But uh,
like if somebody had a firearm and they kind of had it like at low ready, like not pointing directly at
mm-hmm.
you, but like sort of in your direction, but kind of out the ground. I'm questioning if like that institutes like, can you just shoot them? Because I don't know how keenly aware people are of how quickly you can
Yeah.
pull a gun up from low ready to on a target and pull the trigger at somebody, and for somebody to try to react to that defensively, like that's just asking kind of like the impossible. Like you can't tell somebody to react to that and defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least I don't think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I forget what
Mm-hmm.
the average like reaction time is. It's like zero point 0.4 seconds or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
And I think if anybody like trains in the use of firearms, like even like maybe let's say like an hour or 2 hours for like once every like twice a year or something,
Mm-hmm.
like I still think you could get your low ready to on target aim at like what people consider usually like self defense or aggressive like range, which would be like maybe like 20 to 50 feet, I guess,
Yeah.
with firearms at least. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think people can do that within like zero point 0.2 seconds. Like people have those little buzzer time
Yeah.
things. I think usually like people who are good at it or averagely trained at it can get their point aim time at around like zero point 0.2 seconds. I think some people can even get it down to like 1 point some like point 0.1 something.
Yeah. Like that guy from, is it T Rex Arms that he works for? I
Oh
can't
yeah,
remember.
that guy, Lucas from T Rex Arms. He's real good.
Yeah. Yeah. Those guys will, and even if you watch some of those shooting competitions where they do like revolvers or whatever, some of those guys can like pull a revolver and not even like a double action one, a single action, and get all 6 rounds off and put it back in the holster in like a second or two flat. Like, so
That's yeah.
on
You
target.
have you seen people? Have you seen people like fan revolvers?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean when I say fan?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like, for people who don't know, fanning a revolver is basically like you spread out your fingers, and then like each of your fingers will hit the hammer, and then you're pressing the trigger with your other hand.
Mm-hmm.
So you could basically fire up to, if you're really skilled, 5 shots in like quick burst succession.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be the most accurate probably, but like you could
Mm-hmm.
basically shoot faster than maybe even some semi-automatic fire weapons that let you pull the trigger and for
Yeah.
the gas to like go back and forth or to recycle the thing. So like I don't know where people complain about like the fire rate of like semi-automatics and stuff when
Yeah.
people can get really skilled at like banning a revolver and shooting like 3 round bursts at people, and then why they ban like burst weapons or rifles or even
Mm-hmm.
pistols that have those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And then even people that do like lever action rifles,
oh
there's
yeah.
some people like they shoot those really fast, like as about as fast as I've seen people fire semi-automatic weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes more skill to do it, but like in terms of fire rate, like you can get it done.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Is
So
it?
thank you again for inviting me onto the podcast. It
Yeah.
was a delight to share all of the experiences that I had. I hope that brought some insight into some of the minds of the people who are anti-2A, what their reasonings are, and maybe some of the arguments or reasonings you can use to help change people's minds in the future. Um, and also had a nice time leisurely talking about our like school life and travel and
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Um, so I'm gonna end off here with a quote, and then we'll officially be done. So,
Okay.
"'Tis a common observation here that our cause is the cause of all mankind, and that we are fighting for the liberty in defending our own." That was from a letter Benjamin Franklin wrote to Samuel Cooper in 1777 during his diplomatic efforts in Paris.
Hmm.
All right.
That's a good quote.
Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks again, RG, for coming on.
It was my pleasure. You have a good night, everybody.